Alright, I see no reason why we need to wait 6 minutes. I'm already way late enough as it is. I just wanted to make sure that the music and everything was playing. Oh my god. The camera always gets so messed up between... Wow, and my hair. Between, Why? Someone explain why. No matter what, I always end up with this little, like, Pip-Boy... Not a Pip-Boy, like, from Fallout, but, like, Pip, like, from Great Expectations. This little, like, Pip hair thing going on. Oh, yes, hello, welcome on in, everybody. Congratulations on Bob for first. Congratulations, we're engaged again. Congratulations, I think it was Jelly Duck. And welcome on in. Yeah, I think I've seen you over on Josh's stream. Yeah, congratulations on second, and then Plague Dog Panda for third. So also congratulations on I know 50. I know on getting 50, and then I think I saw last time that I like checked in, I think I saw Digi had like a VIP in your stream. So I hope that means affiliate happened, maybe. But yes, either way, congratulations. And everyone should check out all of these amazing people as well. Okay, that seems more. Yeah, I got like riddled with anxiety for some reason because after I like hit go live, I legit had like 7 people just like as the starting number, and then it dropped. Okay, well, now it's back. But yeah, didn't expect that. I also saw that like as soon as I opened OBS, Glitch Kitten was like welcoming people in before stream was even up. So yeah, unfortunately everybody missed Glitch Kitten down there saying hi when they entered the chat. So I'm gonna try and see if I can make it to where he only says things if we're actually streaming. But yeah, anyway. They wanted to see the game, but left because of your face. You know it. They come for the game, and they do not stay for the person playing. Yes. Hi, Bob. How are you today? Aside from feisty. Goodness. First things first, as always. Face out of screen. My eyes always want to try and give me grief, which is just a common occurrence, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it at this point. Just a part of me now. Yeah. Brain. I was gonna say other things. Oh yeah, I was just gonna give like doing well. Work is work. Well, unfortunate, but I get it. Work is very much work today. I mean, it always is today, but yeah, no, I worked today. And, yeah, I just had the weirdest freaking schedule. I had people that had, different add-ons and enhancements, and all spaced out really weird. I had, like, 30-ish minutes between everybody. It was a very slow-moving day. You know, such is life. And now we get to play Afterwards, so I get to yeah, see what happens in 2020 in this universe. Obviously the same thing that happened in 2020 in our universe, but I get to see how they sort of got to deal with it, which I think should be happy. Well, that crying face makes me a lot less sure about happy things happening in this game, but okay, you know, that's fine. Hang on. Okay, cool. Making sure that everything is working correctly, and then that I actually have I need to take some extra time out. I've been trying to take some time out this week. A, just for me, but B, to try and get stuff done, and I I desperately need to get ooh, get some time to there we go. To brain. Finish fixing my OBS and all of my stream stuff and officially getting myself back into like twitchiness. Yeah. Anyways, we've already killed like almost 10 minutes without even touching the game. I was thinking about giving more updates than just how work went today, but I think I'll save those. I think I will save some of those. So instead, let's actually just get right on into the game. All right. And wow, my brain already forgot how to do that. All right, there we go. And so I think we're starting with the ficklets today, and then we're going into breaking the surface, and depending on how long these are, that might be all that we get done, depending on how they make me feel, because I have been feeling a kind of way for like 2-3 weeks now. And 2020 definitely was a heck of a year for everybody. So we'll see. We'll see how we feel. All right. Let's do approximate word count 4,000 extra scenes from Carlos and Nick's relationship. Perfect. I recommend doing both breaking the surface and the one after it. Okay. Perfect. Well then. That is a recommendation that we will follow, because why not? Oh, and this spans 9 years. Okay, cool. Also, is everything sounding okay? Am I like super hollow? Good in general. Before we continue, I'm also going to change this because we are not playing Fallout. And I hate when these record weird. So. All right. Extra ficklets. Point of view, Carlos. Extra scenes from Carlos and Nick's relationship from 2009 to 2018. Yay. Saturday, December 5th, 2009. Takes place just after the first kiss and falling into place. Falling into pieces. Wow. That would be one heck of a chapter. So I think I'm gonna head home and do some studying. Carlos knew Adam was there, of course, but he still blushes at the reminder that they have an audience and lets Nick go, stepping back but remaining close enough that he can still feel Nick's body heat. Nick, for his part, seems fairly unfazed, mostly still caught up in the kiss they just shared at that moment. Chico, are you sure? This was supposed to be our day to hang out. He glances over at Adam, who's grinning at them now. I think something more important came up. We'll hang out next time. Adam holds out his hand, and it takes a second for Carlos to realize he's still holding the bag of mushrooms. He hands it to Adam, who pats him on the back and walks back up the street. Pat is falling into pieces. Pat has been falling into pieces for a minute, sir. All right. Is this our first date then? Nick's voice brings him back to the moment. Take two. Nick's voice brings him back to the moment, and he looks away from Adam's retreating back at the man next to him. Nick is blushing now. Yeah, what kinds of things are appropriate for a first date? Carlos isn't sure how quickly Nick wants to move with things, but for once, he finds himself wanting to just spend time with him instead of just dragging him into bed and getting him naked. Not that that wasn't also tempting. It's not actually too cold out today. Do you want to walk somewhere and then maybe get lunch? You know, I will say, I have been reading a book all day, and reading that felt so tame, so incredibly tame. Carlos nods before leaning in again. unable to keep his hands off Nick. Nick smiles and meets him halfway, their lips brushing more gently this time. How about the Palace of Fine Arts? I've been meaning to make it out there since we moved here, but never did. What have you been reading? It's called A Court of Silver Flame, I think. Nick nods. Sure. Do you want to walk or Carlos tries to remember bus routes in his head. I think the 30 can take us there if you don't mind walking a bit into Chinatown. Oh, and there's a great little shop on Jackson that does good sesame balls if you he pauses, having started rambling as the nerves start creeping in again. Sorry, but we can just walk too. 50 Shades of Gay. I wouldn't be surprised if that is an actual, like, series now. Although I do feel like if I were to see that book on a shelf, I would think it's supposed to be like 50 Shades of Grey. But instead it would probably turn out to be some sort of like delve into the gay zeitgeist or something and would take me totally out of it because the title would be set up for a different expectation. I find that a lot with like queer literature. Nick shakes his head and kisses him again quickly. Both of those sound good. Also, how do you remember bus routes that well? Oh, Carlos blushes again. I just have a good memory, I guess, and I take the bus a lot. The 30 runs up to the Presidio from the Caltrain area, and I pronounced those 100% correctly, and anybody that disagrees clearly has never been in California. Which is convenient for me to get to Chinatown, so I take it sometimes. He shrugs, telling himself not to ramble again, even though Nick's looking at him affectionately at it. So, shall we? Nick nods and they start walking. He glances over and Nick meets his gaze and holds his hand out. Carlos hesitates only briefly before taking it, their fingers fitting together naturally. He thinks for a second how it was never like this with his ex, or anyone else before. And as they fall into comfortable conversation as they walk, about the city and Carlos's cooking, he can't help but think that it's the start of something meaningful. Monday, December 7th, 2009. Takes place after Carlos and Nick start dating in Falling Into Place. Nick really likes you, dude. Carlos looks over at Adam, pulling off his shoes by the door from his pan on the stove. What? He was giddy today. He stopped a random person in the hallway and told him that he had the best boyfriend ever, and then completely missed it when the person congratulated the two of us. Oh, that's great. Carlos blushes. Yeah, well, it's still really new, so... Adam shakes his head, dropping his backpack to the door. Also, don't think I haven't seen the way you look back at him. Carlos turns redder. Chico, shush, or you're just getting plain... Oh. Chico, shush, or you're just getting plain rice for dinner tonight. I'm glad you two are so happy, dude. Me too, Chico. Me too. Oh, and he gave you this. Adam holds out a folded sheet of notebook paper before carrying it over to the dining table and setting it down. Carlos can feel his cheeks flush at the fact that Nick had written him a note. What's it say? Okay, another similarity between Nick and I is I pride myself on being very loquacious. However, I am even more so in the written word. So, I like the whole note. I don't know, dude. I didn't read it. Do you want me to? Sure. He's pretty sure whatever it is, it wouldn't be too personal or explicit. And if it was, he'd get to see Adam blush, and that was a win too. Fair enough, there's no downside to this. Adam unfolds the paper. It just says, I miss you. Then he grins. Your boyfriend misses you, dude. Aww. Carlos thinks that his cheeks are just permanently red now. Whatever, Chico. Tell him I miss him too, or whatever. Adam puts the paper back down and pulls off his shirt, still grinning. I'm gonna take a shower, but remember that Nick is thinking about you. Carlos tears his gaze away, staring back at his pan on the stove. Plain rice, Chico. Tuesday, January 24th, 2012. Okay, 3 years later. Kind of. Sure. Takes place during the Zags companion fic, second verse. Loquacious, not. This I take it was not in this game, but good to know. So that is something I will have to. I know I've been on the Zags website 100 times now, so I know that there's a ton of other fic stuff there that I haven't seen, but perfect. I am also that, by the way. I think I need a break, Nick says, putting down his book. Carlos looks up at Nick and Adam from the kitchen, where he's loading dishes into the dishwasher. Adam sits up on the... Adam sits up on the couch and stretches, seemingly agreeing with Nick. Yeah, that could be a good idea. My eyes are starting to cross. Nick grabs the remote. How about some quick mindless TV before we get back to it? Sounds good, dude. Adam agrees. Carlos busies himself with his cast iron pan, not trusting Adam to not absent-mindedly soak it with soap. Fair enough. While the TV announcer drones on about something. Next up, our exclusive interview with James Bennett about his recent work and his personal life. That gets Carlos's attention, and he puts the pan down, staring at the TV. The show appears to be Entertainment Weekly, and James appears on screen, looking as happy and outgoing as he always does in interviews. Carlos still isn't sure he can reconcile that with the James he knew from undergrad. Turn it up, baby. He dries his hand that's next to Nick on the couch. It's a pretty standard interview, and Carlos vaguely recalls hearing or reading some of these responses before they'd looked up James's new movie a few weeks back and fell into the online spiderweb of speculation and interview articles. Just more sensationalism, he thinks to himself, ready to return to dishes when the announcer starts up on something new. There have been some discussions stemming from your past involvement in college with Daniel Carlton, writer of the surprise housewife hit book 50 Things I Would Do to You. I feel like that would be a real book, and I feel like I might buy it. There have also been questions about the wedding ring on your finger, so we all have to know, who's the lucky lady? Okay. Carlos, for some reason, doesn't dare breathe as James pauses before answering. It's an engagement ring, not a wedding ring. I'm engaged to a man. His name is Chris, and we met in college. I'm bisexual. It barely registers that Nick is staring at him now. And he realizes... Do you know how much just everyone would buy it? Do you know how much, like, all of this would be planned out? Oh my god. Just whenever like celebrities come out with like news like this, either engagement, anything about their sexuality, the amount of time and effort that usually has to go into like talking to their publicist, making sure that if they're going to do it like on TV, that it's great, that like they can give their very scripted answer in a way that sounds natural to a question that you would definitely answer with that pre-planned statement. Oh my goodness. Read the other fact. Okay. It barely registers that Nick is staring at him now. He realizes his mouth is hanging open, an expression of shock mixed with pride on his face. He shuts it and pulls Nick against him, not sure what to say. Well, I wasn't expecting that. Nick says that Nick says as he snuggles up against Carlos's side. Despite the rumors, he's always come across as straight to me. But good for him. Must be hard coming out so publicly like that. No, because this interview has been at least scheduled out for a week. Bare minimum. And this statement has been scripted for just as long, if not longer, probably right around the time that he really got engaged. And they were looking for a good enough news outlet that would A, pay to be the exclusive interview that he comes out during, and B, that would be like appropriate and more than just like a puff thing, because if he does it on like CBS, great. If he did it on Fox, not so great. If he did it on Logo, who cares? Like, Carlos glances over at Adam, who seems to be holding back a laugh. Do you want to tell him or should I, Chico? Adam does chuckle now. Do you remember when I told you about my roommate Chris in undergrad and how he was dating an actor? Nick nods, then his eyes grow wide. Wait, what? That reminds me, I should call Chris and congratulate him and catch up. Carlos says, kissing Nick's head before standing and heading back to the kitchen. Nick's eyes follow him, seemingly in disbelief. Babe, when were you going to tell me that the James you always talked about as one of the people who really helped you over the initial hump was James Bennett? Carlos shrugs, but he's grinning. I don't know. Does it matter? Next thing you're going to tell me that the Dan you had your sexual awakening with is, I don't know, Daniel Carlton or something. Boy, put two and two together. Did you not just hear his name pop up? Okay. Adam laughs at you. Dude, I think there are a few things we should probably tell you. Yeah, like this school apparently just churns out like well-known famous people. Thursday, January 26, 2012. Takes place after the Zag's Companion fic second verse, which I still have yet to read. The call connects and Chris pops on screen. Hey dude, congratulations! Carlos isn't sure if congratulations are appropriate, but given James just came out on national TV for him, it feels right. Chris blushes. Thanks. He didn't tell me he was going to do it, so I was really surprised too. Which must have been difficult, because that means every single conversation he had with his agent, with his handler, with anybody from the network was totally private. Now you get to walk the red carpet with him at the next premiere. He realizes that's not really Chris's thing, but he couldn't help but feel excited on his behalf anyway. Red carpets are always exciting. Even if it's not quite your thing, they're always exciting. I think his publicist, might have something to say about that, but I don't know. What? It's 2012. Are you joking me? His publicist would definitely have things to say about that. Like, you're on the carpet, and you better be wearing someone popular and gay. Mark Jacobs instantly comes to mind. It turns out this is drawing a lot of attention now, and James isn't really happy about it. So, why? I mean, there would be some... Okay. 2012. Like, there would be some backlash, but... Yeah, okay, cool. Also, the fact that he has a movie coming out, like, of course this causes a stir. It's very intentional. That's part of why it was done right now instead of when he's like between films. Okay, cool. Give this like 2 years. Yeah, almost exactly 2 years. And IRL Patrick would be in film school learning about all of this. So, you know. Um, I don't think you've met Nick yet. He senses Chris's discomfort and wants to change the subject. So he turns the waves. Nick hadn't believed him in Adam and wanted to see the proof for himself. Hi, Chris. Congratulations. Chris smiles at him. It's nice to meet you, Nick. Then he seems to look back at Carlos. I'm sorry it's been so long since we've caught up, either on the phone or over Skype like this. Things have, oh yeah. Give it half a decade more and then Skype's gonna be dead in lieu of other things. Things have just been busy over here, and I'm not great at reaching out over anything that isn't instant messaging. Oh my. Dude, don't apologize. I should have been better at it too. I appreciate that that's always his response, like it goes both ways. We should make sure the next time isn't quite so long. How are you? How's that? Chris stops talking and looks at his side before scooting over. James sits down next to him on the couch, and Nick's eyes grow wide. Carlos can't help but chuckle. Hey, James, congratulations. Carlos is pretty sure Nick is speechless at the moment. Thank you. James is smiling his regular smile, and Carlos thinks it looks more genuine and more correct on him than his usual interview smile. This is Nick, my boyfriend. He just wanted to meet you. Babe! Nick blushes. I just wanted to say hi to Chris, but very nice to meet both of you. Carlos has talked highly of you, both of you. I think this was around the time that Skype started installing malware on people's computers. Oh, that's great. Lovely. My parents got hit by it, and that was the last time we used Skype. I can't believe it. I think I've used Skype twice. Once was for like an audition for Wranglers, I think. And the other time I think was just communicating with like an across the country. And then I was like, this is dumb, and never used it again. I'm just glad I could help, James says, and Nick practically melts against Carlos's side. Carlos makes a note to talk to him later and tease him about what was apparently a bigger celebrity crush on James than he thought. That's great. So how are you and Adam doing? So, this is so, yeah. I'm really glad that when Dorian, was working as like a PA, he was the assistant to a celebrity that I was not incredibly familiar with. And it was not a celebrity that I had like a celebrity crush on. Because, oh my god, I feel like there would have been no stopping me. If he had been like the assistant to like Josh Hutcherson or something, would have been over. I would have found every single way to get on set. Oh, speaking of which, that is just kind of a fun thing. So Dorian was a like personal assistant to a celebrity when we were back in New Mexico for I think like 2 months or something, 3 months. And yeah, one of the celebrities on that movie was Madeleine Petsch. That wasn't who he was the assistant for, but she was there. Earlier this, actually my last stream, Thursday, we went to go see The Strangers, and we sat down, and Dorian, this is just a funny, like, make fun of my boyfriend story. Dorian sat down, and we started talking, and he said oh yeah, he was talking about, like, his bacon number to people. And he had mentioned something about like, oh, because he knows Madeleine Petsch, he like is like not too away from XYZ celebrity. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. So then we start watching the movie, and for anybody that doesn't know, the new Strangers movie stars Madeleine Petsch. And so my brain was like, oh, he's talking about her because she's in this, and like he has had conversations with her. She asked about me multiple times. So, she briefly knew who I was and saw pictures of me. So, yeah. But yeah, so then go through the film, yada, yada, yada. And it ends, credits start rolling. It does have like a mid-credit scene. So there's that. We watch the mid-credit scene, lights start coming up, and then it says, starring Madeleine Pesch, produced by Madeleine Pesch, all that good stuff. And Dorian was like, that was her! And I just like looked over at him and my jaw was just like agape. Like, isn't that why you mentioned her at the beginning when we sat down? Because you knew we were going to be watching her for like the next 2 hours? And he was like, nope, that had nothing to do with it. And when the movie started, I thought that she looked really familiar, and I thought it might have been Madeleine, but I couldn't be sure. And Dorian is absolutely awful with celebrities. He knows who nobody is. He knows who Selena Gomez is. That, he knows her. Yeah, outside of that, pretty sure we could run into any celebrity on the street and he would have no clue. And that includes ones that he's met in person. That includes celebrities he personally has met and worked with. So that's fun. That was fun to learn. So how are you and Adam doing? The call's short but nice, and Carlos doesn't realize how much he's missed talking to Chris. James, of course, is pleasant and supportive as always, congratulating him on finding Nick, and ending the call with a "let's talk again soon." That he sure is genuine, even if it might take a little while for soon to come. I think most people mean those genuinely. Even if you know that it's not actually gonna happen. He looks over at Nick when Carlos hangs up and seems to be staring at the screen with disbelief still on his face. I'm glad you finally got to meet Chris. Nick just stares at him. We just Skyped with James Bennett. Carlos laughs and wraps his arm around him, kisses his temple. Okay, mister, should I be concerned about this? Nick relaxes into him, closing his eyes, but smirking. I don't know. I think there was a spark. I'm gonna leave you now for him, and I'm sure he'll leave his fiancée, who he basically just declared his love on national television for me. 2 years ago, that would have been too much and would have brought Carlos's insecurities exploding back into his chest. But now, with his arms around Nick and feeling the way Nick's hands pleasantly hold his against Nick's bicep, and thinking back over the years they've been together, he feels only amusement, taking it for the joke that it is. Well, then I hope James takes half as good care of you as you deserve. Nick turns in his arms, expression all affection now, and kisses him, pushing him back into the couch. I love you, babe. I love you too. He opens his eyes, staring into Nick's. But I'm still gonna tease you about this. I would expect nothing less. Saturday, June 15th, about a year later. Takes place after Carlos and Nick's engagement in Piece by Piece. Babe, what's this? Carlos looks over at Nick, who's trying to organize the things from Carlos's desk as they start to pack Carlos's things for their moving in together. Nick seems to be looking at an old folded piece of paper, and Carlos blushes when he realizes what it is. What is it? I think you know what that is. Ah, so cute. I wrote you this the first day after we started dating when I couldn't come over after classes. You did, and Adam gave it to me and teased me about it all evening. Nick looks at him now, disbelief mixed with utter affection on his face. And you kept it? Dude, of course I kept it. Nick shakes his head, setting it on his desk while he returns to rummaging. I'm gonna frame that for you and stick it up on your desk in our place. Just as a reminder for when we're apart. Carlos likes the thought. Nick and I seem to Nick and I just seem to share more and more. uh Carlos likes that thought. Even now he can remember exactly what Nick's sloppy handwriting looks like. The thick ballpoint pen on a half sheet of notebook paper reading I miss you. Thursday, September 22nd, 2016, so 3 years later. It's a relief to finally have your green card. Is it a relief to finally have your green card? Nick asks, his hands running under Carlos's shirt and up along his side. Carlos smiles and kisses his head. You are, Nick, and your hair's pretty close too. I mean, yeah. No, that just one of like the first gifts, I guess, that I did for Dorian was after he had won his film festival. I had obviously because of like the pandemic and everything, everything was just online, so he didn't have like a physical thing to commemorate his victory. So I found the article, I printed it out on like this old looking parchment paper, and then highlighted the section that was about him and his picture, and like I kind of edited it to make it look like more of a real news, like a newspaper article, not real news, but like it's from like a paper rather than from an article, from like an internet article, um, and framed it for him. So yeah, so yeah, pretty similar esque style of gift giving. um, it is. They love me at work, so my job security has never been in question, but it's still a huge relief to know that the government can't tear me away from you now. Oh. Nick pulls him closer, as if possessively, and Carlos's heart feels full of it. So, should we start thinking about how we switch you over to being a surf instructor or a personal trainer? Nick asks. Carlos chuckles at that. Or millionaire personal chef? Nick seems to frown at Carlos's joke. I'm serious, babe. Also. Oh, Carlos realized he'd never actually talked about his career plans with his husband. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Come on, Dorian. I mean, Carlos. Get your head in the freaking game. Despite having brought them up to his therapist a couple of times, I don't really want to be those things anymore. Nick seems concerned at that, turning so he's looking into Carlos's eyes. What do you want to be? Carlos shrugs. Honestly, my current job suits me just fine. I don't see a reason to change it. That's fine. I don't have an issue with people that like their job being a job, so long as you have aspirations somewhere in your life, things that you want to continue to do. Which, granted, could be like he doesn't care about his job because he wants to travel, or he wants to be a dad, or he, you know, whatever, what have you, wants to have like this sort of experience in his 20s and this sort of experience in his 30s and blah blah blah, things that like you're consistently striving for. You don't need to have a lot of ambition behind like a career path, I guess. Babe, but what are your dreams? Doesn't have to be career related. That is something that like I think especially for men, like it's getting pushed on women now too. But I think especially for men, like when you talk about like having aspirations for your life, it needs to be some like big career goal. Like you want to be a business owner, you want to, be a CEO in a Fortune 500 company or whatever. And if you don't list something career oriented or some like way of making money under your dreams, then it's considered less valid. In the same way that women, like if you don't list being a mother or being a wife, it sort of makes everything seem less valid. Those aspirations are also not realistic. I mean, you know, it part realism in my head is very fluid. Be a Fortune 500 CEO. I mean, somebody has to be a Fortune 500 CEO. If you have enough ambition behind it and you really want to do it and you do make the steps for it, there's a lot that you have to face for it, but you can do it. Like, I always wanted to be on TV and movies. Guess who's been on fucking TV and in movies? Not as a main actor, but I have done it. I can cross that off of my list. Yeah, so I mean, you know, it your dreams can be whatever. You just have to make sure that you're always putting forth the correct amount of effort. If you're like, I want to be a Fortune 500 CEO, and then you like spend all of your time being a chef, like I don't quite see how those two are gonna mesh. So, you know, stuff like that. Somebody also has to be on the Supreme Court, but it's not gonna happen. I mean, or maybe I just have no dreams. Bob, you have dreams. You have, well, I don't know. I want to say that you have dreams because I feel like the fact that we've known each other for 4 months now, I feel like I've heard you talk about at least some other aspirations or things that you enjoy doing. But also, anytime that I try and get to know you a little bit deeper, you like instantly shut me down. So, I don't know. You might be at the zenith of your life. And if you are and you're happy with it, then great. But what are your dreams? Those aren't my dreams anymore, baby. I have you now, and you're better than anything I could ever have dreamed of. Between you and Adam, I feel so personally fulfilled that I could never want anything more. All right, so a little bit deeper, eh? A little, a lot, you know. I work at other people's comfort level for the most part. I have a dream for Carlos. I have a dream that Carlos not seek his personal fulfillment through his relationships with other people solely. Let's see, this is, I think, 2016. Yeah, he's well past an age where, like, he might want to consider trying to find, oh, that's true. Yeah, he has a lot, oops. I think they address that in the next sentence. Then let's go to the next sentence before I waste my breath. Nick blushes before looking concerned again. You shouldn't give up your dreams because of me. I want you to be professionally fulfilled too. Now that you can quit your job, if there's something else you want to be doing instead, I want to support you in it. Bob, did you seriously just write me into your game? Because once again, I did this for Dorian too. Like, obviously Dorian has a job now, because their circumstances and we had other parts of our agreement than just this. But, yeah, no, definitely, like, Dorian was working a terrible job when we met. And I was like, you know what? I make good money. So let's not have you work until you're out of college. And then college ended, and I'm like, you know what? Why don't you use the things that your degree taught you to pursue some dreams, which at that time was a lot of Twitch and YouTube. Still is. And he started working on that. Didn't have to focus on another job. Within a couple of months, he was turning out like a few $100s each month, which I'm like, you know what? that is equivalent to whatever minimum wage job you would be getting paid right now elsewhere. So perfect. Keep that up, and you can keep going on this. And then he got that job at that movie, and that's very supportive of you. Thank you. I try and be very supportive. So yeah, as long as there were always things like being met in certain stipulations, um, if I have the financial means, my partner, who at this point it looks like is just going to be Dorian forever, um, if I have the financial means, as long as my partner is consistently working to better their life, then I am fine taking care of like the financial needs, or have been. Obviously, some circumstances regarding where Dorian and I want our life to go um, have required a little bit more than he was making just doing all of this. But I mean, Dorian Forever also seems great. That is also. It's funny. We were. I think I already talked about this on. But last week we were talking about engagement rings. I forget how it got brought up. Oh yes, because we were watching Thousand Pound Sisters. Because we like TLC trash. It is good unwinding TV. And we got to the part where Tammy gets engaged. Spoiler alert for anybody that doesn't know that. And so then we started talking about engagement rings, and it was both great that we could both be like, yeah, all engagement rings suck, so just tell me the one that you want. Minus the fact that I have one that like I'm gonna get made for that I've found, and I'm figuring out exactly everything that he wants in it. But I just showed him one that I found, and I was like, just this one. And that was so great because men's engagement rings are awful. But then also, it was a little disenchanting to be like, well, I'm still going to be happy, like, I guess, when the engagement officially happens. But also, there's, like, no mystery or surprise to this, which I guess there shouldn't be. Like, I don't know. I guess when people are all, like, surprised at getting engaged to, it always kind of catches me off guard, where I'm like, did you not think this was where this was heading? Like, this just caught you off guard? You had no idea that they liked you? But, you know, either way. Okay, yep. Now that you can quit your job. Yep, Bob just legit wrote me into the game. The statement is something like, the circumstances that should be a surprise, but the fact that it's happening shouldn't be. Exactly. Yeah, no, if Dorian were to actually do the things that I told him I wanted, I would be so thoroughly shocked, I would 100% cry. Like, any reaction that is caught on camera would be completely genuine, because I know that he will not do either of those. But also then, that also means you want a loud, messy restaurant engagement, right? With drama. That's one of them. Yeah, if he doesn't do like a super romantic one, then I want the like very, very loud, messy, like drama-filled engagement one where like I run off and like all of our friends are there and someone acts like they didn't know we were gay and blah blah blah. Super romantic or super trashy. Got it. Exactly. Yeah. No, my like super romantic one is like I want our friends to be there. I want it to be like a like quaint like gathering with people. I yeah, I want him to do it in some way that like has something to do with something meaningful to like our relationship. I have like my super mushy one written down, but I do also have like my way of doing it for him planned out too, which also involves having things custom made and things kind of being a surprise and blah blah blah. So I obviously can't say it on line, especially considering he's at work right now, and I think he's alone, so he may or may not be watching. So, you know. Carlos nods, trying to remember the words his therapist had used when they'd had this conversation to better explain his feelings. That's really nice of you, but I don't feel like I need that anymore. When I was growing up, I always had this feeling of unhappiness and dread, I guess, that I would have to marry a girl and hide part of myself, so I searched for things that could make me happy to try and balance that. I like the water and I like exercising, so I always had this dream of being a surf instructor or some sort of fitness trainer because it was something I enjoyed, and I thought that maybe I could have fulfillment and some bit of joy in my life through that, at least, if that makes sense. That does. Hi, Dorian. Hello, Dorian, if you're watching this, or I guess listening to it at work. Granted, he probably is more so listening to scary stories or things about Bigfoot, because that's the man that I love. The Bigfoot junkie. Granted, we both do enjoy cryptids. Nick nods, but looks pained on his behalf. Carlos kisses him until he's smiling again. It does. And not that I'm going to complain about you kissing me, but you still shouldn't have to give up professional fulfillment just because you have me. Okay, sir. Nick, you have very, dry ideas of what will make you happy, which don't always need to bring fulfillment to other people, which is something I, hard struggled with. Realizing that the various many things that I want in my life, other people don't need to be happy. Yeah, it's always huge baffling thing. Me and my sisters. The fact that one of my sisters is completely content living in our grandma's old house and is within a 5-minute range of our old high school, of our childhood home, of everything that we've always known, and the fact that that makes her totally happy and content will never cease to amaze me. But the things that would require me to feel fulfilled, she does not need. Just in this situation, there are things that Nick very much wants. He wants, fulfilling personal, romantic, and professional goals. And those might not be important to Carlos, which is fine. So long as he has something. That's my only caveat with that. He needs something that pushes him to want. But I'm getting to that, Carlos says, pulling Nick's head onto his chest and enjoying the feeling of his husband against him. I took the job because it was available when I moved here with Adam, but I grew to actually like it. I work with some great people, and I think I'm pretty good at what I do. And then I met you, and I had you, and my life just felt complete, which is adorable, but also your life is not complete because you're only in your 20s, bro. And right now I think the thing that gives Carlos happiness is cooking and experimenting with food. That just makes me think of Jake and his IPAs right now. But I feel that. I understand that. Yeah, it's the idea of feeling that your life is complete is such a nice idea, but also horrifies me because your life is not complete. I want to feel happy and fulfilled. What gives Jake and it happiness is torturing Josh. I caught that. Yeah, no, I I want to feel like happiness and fulfillment in my life, but I also never want to feel like my life is complete. I want to reach a point where, like, if something happens to me, heaven forbid, uh, that I am happy with where my life has been and where it is and where I saw it going, and I'm fine with if it doesn't end up in a different way. Um, but that said, I want to die with like plans on the books for Friday. Like I never want to. I want my end to be just as shocking to me as it will be to everybody else. Um, and so I never want to reach this like idea of, oh, everything's complete and I'm done, and not that like, he's feeling like his life's complete, therefore he doesn't need it anymore, but where I don't want to continue pushing for more because I have so much life ahead of me still that if I were to just do the same thing over and over again because I feel complete, I can't imagine a more scary thought for like my life, almost. Unpopular opinion, but Nick blushes at that, which made me realize I didn't really need to pursue some pipe dream career because the job I already had made me happy and wasn't making up for some gap in my personal life. So I don't really feel a need to change something that's working. And besides, I like contributing to our household, and stable employment feels like a good way of doing that. Hey, I see why I had like an attraction to Carlos during my first like run through of Yags. Okay, Nick says, turning his head so he's looking at him. But if that ever changes, please let me know. You contribute in so many ways already, so don't feel like changing careers affects that in any way. You've been so supportive of me and Adam in pursuing our careers, so I want to be supportive of you too. You always are, baby. I'm just happy where I am. I'm just happy where I'm at now. Nick smirks and moves so he's lying on top of Carlos before kissing him gently. Well, I'm happy where I'm at right now. Carlos grins. I think I know how to make you even happier, though. I bet you're about to show me. Carlos just kisses him deeply. Friday, November 4th, 2016. Babe, did you see there's a new Star Trek series coming out? Or Nick asks. Carlos looks over at Nick sitting on the couch with his laptop. I didn't. I also didn't realize you were into Star Trek. Please say I'm not. I'm more of a Doctor Who fan, but this was just a point of conversation. Oh, Nick blushes. I'm not really. I just followed James's news, and apparently he's been cast in it. Right on. We should call him and congratulate them. I didn't realize James had decided to do TV again. It's been almost a decade. Well, he's always been a huge Star Trek fan, so I imagine he jumped at the opportunity. Facts. There's a new Doctor Who on Disney Plus, which has me feeling a kind of way. But if I found out that they were casting for that and I was able to do it, oh my god, you'd better believe in a heartbeat. I don't care that it already doesn't totally ring my bell, but What? How do you know that? He's studying Nick's face more carefully now. Nick blushes harder. I just follow James news. Carlos grins, deciding the spinach would be okay for a few moments, walking over to the couch and ruffling Nick's hair and kissing his head. Just how much of a crush on this guy do you have, baby? It's not a crush. It's just like a teeny tiny, microscopic, I cannot stress how small it is, obsession. I just think he's a good actor. And I think Josh Hutcherson is a great actor. Just a great actor. Just a totally hands-on great actor. Carlos kisses his head again before returning to the kitchen. Well, I guess mark our calendars now. I imagine you're going to want to make a night of it whenever new episodes come out. Sounds right. Henry Cavill is such a great actor. Hands-on. Yeah, hands-on. Hands-on. When I say hands-on, I'm mostly referring to him in, oh god, what was that called? Whatever he was on in, I think it was roughly this time, it was like 2016. It was on Hulu. It was like a time travel show. Yeah, hands-on. Him, like the first 10-ish minutes of that show, very hands-on. I love you, Nick says, one eye peeked out at Carlos between his fingers. Not half as much as you love James, Carlos teases before thinking better of it, because as an unspoken rule, they never leave the other hanging. But I love you too. Yep, that's pretty fair. An unspoken rule, just if there's an I love you, there's always an I love you too. Sunday, December 23rd, 2018. Oh my! Merry Christmas, babe. Carlos pauses in game and looks up at Nick, who's holding out a rather large wrapped box in his direction. What? But Christmas isn't another couple of days. Nick nods. I know, but since I'm working Christmas Eve and Christmas this year, I wanted to give it to you early. 2018. Oh no. Couldn't have been. I thought we were celebrating next week instead. That's when we were going to visit your parents. He takes the box anyway. Heavier than he expected. We are, but I didn't think it made sense to lug this there and back. Also, since I'm working tomorrow, I wanted to give it to you tonight. I don't trust you not to go rooting around the closet or something for something and accidentally finding it. Okay, I'm curious what it is. I know that like a couple of years ago, Dorian did this for me. I don't know what it is, so maybe it's totally different. But Dorian got me a gift because he knew it would make work easier, and because it was the holidays and it was a nightmare time, and we were just dealing with a ton. I had taken on a ton of extra hours, and which, fun fact, for a massage therapist, full time is like 20 to 25 hours a week because of how much stress and strain it puts on your body. And I was doing roughly 40, which for most people, yeah, like 40 hours a week, oh no, big deal. For massage therapy, no, it kind of is. It's quite a large workout. A lot of hours. Yeah, it seems like a super demanding job. It is. It's yeah. So because I did that, Dorian, as soon as the gift got there, he was like, this is your Christmas present, and it's like the big one that I'm giving you, big one. But it'll make you working right now a lot easier, and I don't want to wait until after you're done working this many hours to give it to you, which, spoiler alert, did not end up happening. I continued to work like 40 hours a week for the rest of the time that we were in New Mexico. But yeah, it was super nice. And it was these. I mean, technically not these ones. These ones are brand new and I bought them for myself. But it was Raycons. Merlin ate one of them almost instantly, which was fun. This was also the year that we got Merlin. But yeah, so it was very nice, and it did make working a lot easier. Oh, Carlos feels a little strange opening the present early. Should I save it for Tuesday? Nick sits down next to him and kisses him, like he'd be able to wait that long. Carlos thinks that his husband knows him too well, and gingerly tugs the corner of the wrapping paper. I can wait. Nick smirks. Sure you can, babe. I can, he insists, even as he tugs open the wrapping paper flaps on the end of each of the box. And at each end of the box. Wow, there we go. Nick just smiles at him, watching him pull the paper off. It's a cardboard box. It's a cardboard box, also taped shut. This isn't a box of rocks, is it? No, it's a box of potatoes. Honestly, though, would be a good gift for one. Nick's grinning again, but Carlos wouldn't put it past him, and thinks he probably would appreciate a box of vegetables to cook with. He opens the inner box and pulls out a VR headset and some controllers. So also, fun fact. Pretty sure, what was it? So I think the year that Dorian gave me these early, that was either the year that I got him a VR headset, or it was the year that I got him like a special limited edition Animal Crossing Switch. So he has 2 Switches now, and one of them has like all the Animal Crossing characters on it and yada yada. And then we also have a Quest, and I think both of those were Christmas presents, because I always get him something like big and expensive that he would not get otherwise. Yeah, you're Nick. Your middle name is Edward now. You realize that now makes my initials, instead of being Pat, it makes it Pet. Right? What? You'd been talking about Beat... Yep. Been talking about Beat Saber for a while. And the physician in me thought it would be good for you to have a video game that would also be a bit of a workout. Yep. Granted, I'm sure that's why a ton of people initially bought the headset when they found out that there were games that were also workouts. But yeah, pretty specifically, the idea of Beat Saber and being able to like work out without having to go to the gym and yada yada was part of why I got it for him. And then I could also use it. So, dude, Carlos finds himself touched by the gift and drops the opportunity for a quip about a certain physician being in him. The physician in me, more like the physician in me, in about 10 minutes. There we go, I did it for him. He examines the box before a thought occurs to him. But we don't have a PlayStation. Alright. That one's not a similarity, alright. That's an I know Bob being against meta. I know, Nick says, and Carlos realizes the box isn't empty yet. He sets the headset aside and pulls out the console as well. Dude, he doesn't have words at the moment to express how he's feeling. You're welcome, Nick says, grinning. I didn't get you anything nearly this nice. That's not what it's about. It's not about reciprocation. You being overwhelmingly happy at something that Nick, was able to do for you, is why we get these gifts, or give these gifts. He runs his finger over the box, suddenly feeling extremely guilty about it. You get me you. Every day, babe. That's the nicest gift in the world. Plus this reaction. This reaction, like, really gives, like, a smug sense of pride. Carlos blushes and kisses him, putting the box aside and standing. Still, it's probably only fair that I give you your gift now, but it's really not anything. If it's headphones, I am gonna scream. He heads to the kitchen and digs around in a cabinet with his pans before pulling a box from the back. It was the only place he could think to hide a present that Nick wouldn't look. would work. I hate our kitchen. I hate kitchens in general and food. So if Dorian wanted to hide something from me, the kitchen is a pretty safe bet that I will never find it. And it occurs to him too late that he probably wouldn't be able to use it again. He makes a well, okay, unless he shows me exactly where he hides something. He makes a mental note to ask Adam if he can stash gifts at his apartment for future years. Nick smiles at him as he sits back down on the couch and hands him the gift. He doesn't comment on the hiding place. What is it? You want me to tell you what's in the box before you open it? Maybe, he says, but he's already shredding the wrapping paper. All right, that's a rather substantial difference between Nick and I. I open presents more like Carlos, very meticulously, undoing like the tape and like trying to slide the box out and, you know, not tearing the box and whatever. I'm not this heathen that just rips into things. Carlos watches him open the box inside and pull out the items, staring at them, a grin on his face. Babe, I know you still hate that you have to wear dress shirts and ties, but I thought you could at least have a little fun with it. And the stuffed ones are for your desk. Carlos wonders if he should have gotten Nick something nicer, even though the grin on Nick's face, seems to indicate that he likes this present just fine. Nick holds up the ties, patterned with various viruses, bacteria, and cells, inspecting them before setting them down and picking up two of the giant plush microbes, squeezing them with absolute joy on his face. Carlos, these are perfect. That is adorable. If I ever get a single freaking gift that has anything to do with massage, I will personally rip out the eyes of whoever gifts it to me. I'm glad you like them. I was gonna get you a new clubbing t-shirt since Joey ruined your favorite one, but I thought it might be better if we went shopping for that together, so you could try them on first. So I guess that's kind of part 2 of your gift. Nick puts the box down and grabs Carlos, pushing him back against the couch and kissing him forcefully. They're both breathless when they break, and Nick smiles against his lips. These are perfect. You're perfect. Thank you. Thank you, baby, for your presence, and especially for you. Got it. Send Pat some massage oils for Christmas. You know, if you did that, I once again would say I'm glad that I don't have a jealous boyfriend, because if another man sent me massage oils, I feel like that would have a weird look to it. No, especially stuff having to do with like the bot. Like, ugh. I know so much about pathology. The human body is just a nice, disgusting sack of stuff. And I'm very happy for existence. I'm very grateful for my body, just like everybody is. Humans are disgusting. Fact. Humans are disgusting. Yeah, no. Having to like learn about the human body definitely put like a huge damper on me wanting anything to do with them, including like anything to do with my boyfriend at the time, for like a good 2 years. Because I like knew where everything came from, and just disgusting. I don't know how doctors go home and are like, oh yeah, like, I love you, wanna touch bacteria siphoners together? Like, ugh. Anyway. Nick pulls back and smiles. So we have some time before bed. Let's set your stuff up and maybe I can get in around after you. Carlos laughs. I see, so it's actually a present for both of us under the guise of you being extra sweet to me. Who said that? No one is saying that. No one would do that. And no one is going to rewind about 5 minutes to hear me say something similar. Like you mind at all, babe. And Carlos really doesn't. Monday, December 24th, 2018. Oh my god, that is cute though. Carlos pauses his game and stands at the sound of the key in the lock. Even if Nick has to work Christmas Eve, he was glad that Nick's specialty had him working regular hours most of the time at least, unlike Adam's unreliable and often overnight shifts. That does something to me. Okay. Welcome home, he says as the door opens and Nick walks through. Even though this is nothing new anymore, his hands still twitch at the sudden need to hold his husband. Well, that's just cute and sweet. Hey! Nick manages to get out before Carlos swoops in, pushing him against the door and using his body to shut it before flaming his lips needily. Nick laughs when they break. What did I do to deserve that? Love that. Love that so much. The sometimes real practice of that is when I do it, I accidentally forget that like doorknobs are a thing and things that we have on walls are a thing. And yeah, that not every scene that like scenes in movies are staged and scripted and you practice them like 20 billion times. So doorknobs hurt. Yes, they do. Trying to think of a joke about, and that's not the kind of knob that you want. But yeah. So I try and be very careful when I do stuff like that. So I try and kind of like brace my hands like this when I like go in for the hug instead of like having my hands kind of towards me. I have them out towards the wall. That way I can feel for anything. In like a sly way, I hope. You married me, Carlos grins, his fingers curled in the short hair at the back of Nick's head. Nick laughs again. If I'd known it was that easy, I would have done it a long time ago. You did. It's been 4 years. I see. Nick kisses him again, more gently this time, before seeming to sniff the air. Something smells good, other than you, of course. Will say that's something I do also really enjoy about Dorian. He always smells really good. Oh, Carlos blushes. Your mom used to always make pot roast for Christmas Eve, right? And since you weren't making it home for that, I thought I'd give it a try. Men just smell good in general. Disagree. There's a level. There's a certain level where like men have like a nice pheromone attraction smell to me. But there's also and part of it might be because my brain instantly is like, a lot of people's smell is like microbes that are on them and like all the stuff that goes into that. However, I will say that like men's like musky aroma or whatever, not totally my cup of tea. Like I have to be in a very specific like frame of mind even to like want a musky aroma around me. I'm a fan of male musk. You seem like the type. That would. Yeah, no, I like, I don't know. I like when it's more subtle, I guess. And maybe that's it more so, is that like I want to have to be close to a guy to smell him rather than like being able to be across the room and be like, ah, yes, man, right there, a man, yes. Babe, Nick's staring at him with what seems like disbelief. You didn't have to do that. Well, I could still have gone Well, it could still have gone wrong. Seems fairly straightforward, but I've also never done this before, so it might turn out tough. And the potatoes and carrots might be mush. Nick's hands work their way down Carlos's back to his ass, pulling their hips together, and Nick smirks. How long until it's done? Well, if you do what you're implying you want to do, he'll definitely ruin it. We have time for some stuff first. Carlos likes what Nick's doing to him. Nick kisses him again before dragging him to the bedroom. I will say there's also a difference between how Nick handled that and how I would, but this channel is approved for families. But of course it is, because I'm on YouTube right now. Saturday, February 16th, 2019. We should probably finish the champagne, babe. Nick says as he rummages around the fridge. Carlos looks up from the W-2s that had just arrived in the mail, swallowing the unpleasant feeling in his chest. Sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Your face is not approved for families. Don't lie. My face is not approved for all families, because, you know, it's way too devilishly attractive and sexually frustrating. I was saying we should finish the champagne from Valentine's Day. Nick pulls it out and sets it down on the counter, looking at Carlos with concern. What's wrong? Carlos shakes his head and sets the forms down, forcing a smile on his face. Nothing, it's stupid. I'm gonna see where this goes. I have ideas. Yeah. And of course, all my ideas come with opinions. He knows Nick won't let it go that easily, and isn't surprised when Nick walks over and sits down next to him, taking his hands in his. It's not stupid, babe. What's bothering you? I'm just feeling inadequate, I guess, because of how much you make? Nick's face seems to fall at that, and Carlos realizes he should have elaborated. Babe, have I not been appreciating you enough, or have I been... Nick starts. Carlos shakes his head, interrupting him. No, you're amazing. You're perfect. I feel like I don't contribute enough to the household, relatively speaking. He picks up the forms. You made like 10 times as much money as I did last year. Okay. I understand. So, in relationships, there are such thing as a breadwinner, and a butter winner. And both are fine. It's nice when couples make about the same. However, realistically, most couples do not. I know a handful of couples where they make roughly the same, and it's typically because they have roughly the same job. And I don't know personally that many happy couples that like work together. Not saying that if you have the same job you have to like work with your partner, but you know, that aside. Yeah, no, it's... I understand his feeling. I understand him understanding that it's trivial in the long run. But it's feelings that exist, and that's fine, and you share them, and it's that. I did not, Nick says, nevertheless releasing Carlos's hands and looking at the papers. I did not, he repeats with more confidence, looking at the numbers. It's like, did I? No, I definitely didn't. Fine, but you still made many times what I did. So? This is what I was talking about before, where it's like, Your professional fulfillment, whatever fulfillment you're seeking, doesn't need to make you a ton of money, as long as you're pushing yourself towards the life that you um, and it can mesh well with what your partner wants. Whatever. Nick nods as if wanting to object, but also seeming to understand. It's hard because like I understand Nick's position in this. I have been in this position and it's fine. It really is fine. If your partner is the breadwinner and they don't like making more than you, or they don't appreciate your contribution, then that's a sign that you probably shouldn't be with. But by and large, typically these like happen this way because everybody's fine with it. I don't know. My own personal experience, I've been fine being the breadwinner, and I have never felt like Dorian has not contributed enough. And if I ever, and this is just like a, in my opinion, smart relationship thing, but if either of us really ever feel like the other person isn't contributing what they said they would, or in a way that is like meaningful towards their position, then you talk about it and then you work around it. This is more just he's feeling inadequate, which is fine. Like I said, totally something. But yeah, you would know if it's an issue if Nick ever came forth and was like, hey, I'm kind of making all the money, you're kind of spending all the money, you're not. Like, you, if Carlos had stopped going to therapy and wasn't working on himself and just decided to quit his job the second that Nick said that it was fine and whatever, like, that's a different story. But it's a recent and maybe queer thing that one person doesn't stay home and mind the house while the other works. Okay, but Nick isn't an ass, and neither is Carlos. Exactly. Like neither of them are the kind of people that that would care or like hold it against the other for an issue like this. Yeah, it just don't get me wrong. Money definitely controls a lot and can bring a lot of ease and a lot of discomfort to a relationship. But you know. But I do also get that like the idea of having like a stay-at-home partner is also like a weird thing, kind of coming back, kind of not. Which is like an odd zeitgeist phenomenon happening as well, because like there was obviously a large period of time where like women stayed home and you know cooked the dinners and had the children and blah 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 while men went out and worked and did the things and blah blah blah. And then that changed, and now our like market has gotten into this weird position where it was designed to only have about half the workforce that it realistically has. And then as it grew, instead of changing like capitalism laws to meet the needs of the working class, we changed them to meet the needs of the upper class, and now people are having to stay home because it doesn't make sense to have both partners work. So, you know, preach, Pat, you know me. Money by itself, assuming you make enough for some definition of enough, doesn't spark conflict. My eye is bugging me. Assuming you make enough for some definition of enough doesn't spark conflict. Money can be an issue in a relationship. That's why it didn't make sense. I missed the top one. Money can be an issue in a relationship, but it's either we don't make enough and are struggling, or it just magnifies itself. Wow, hang on. My eye is just disagreeing with me. Or it just magnifies issues that exist between the people anyway. Money by itself, assuming you make enough for some definition of enough, doesn't spark conflict. Correct. They're actually scientifically, so it's not really scientifically. Sociologically, there is technically a finite amount of money for happiness. And it does sort of vary. Like there is the number that not archaeologists, anthropologists, that like modern anthropologists have deduced. But there's also like kind of an equation for the life that you want and the amount of money that you need to have for it and the amount of money extra you need to have, that is like the correct amount of money to comfortably live in your life. And if you make any more than that, it will bring you no more happiness. Sort of like Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton makes so much money a year that she literally just like throws it at foundations, her own foundation, that she, you know, really tries to like give back to America in some meaningful way. And when she was asked about it, she was quoted saying, "Why do I need to be anything other than a millionaire?" Bitch could be so rich. I shouldn't say that. Dolly Parton is not a bitch. Will never be a bitch. But yeah, so in terms of like money, it is found that there is a certain amount of money to have to like buy happiness, but anything more than that doesn't help at all. And then obviously, yes, on the reverse end of this, like having not enough money where you're struggling causes issues and strife. Dolly Parton. Yeah, woman is amazing. Woman is everything that like any American should strive to be. Yeah, money doesn't buy happiness is only true after a certain point of money. Yeah, I will also say, who was it? Ariana Grande. Whoever said money can't solve your problems must have not had enough money to solve them. Yeah, 99 like percent of all of my problems could be fixed with money right now. Which is less than being a millionaire. Yep. Yeah, no, I think it literally is like however much money it takes at a baseline for you to live like a happy life. So doing like having all of your bills covered and being able to pursue whatever like your main goal is, and magnify that by I think 50% or 75% is the amount of money that it would take for someone to like not have money woes, I guess. So yeah. Anyway, like I have far veered. Also, I think my eyes just adjusted in like a weird way because everything now has like a yellow or like a warm hue to it, which also could be having heat exhaustion because it is hot in here. We also did not have any more coffee, so I made myself some hot chocolate to have like a hot drink, and 100% it like congealed, so there's just a nice like chocolate ring on the inside of my cup and like bits of like chocolate powder that have re-molded themselves just in it. So it's actually not bad. It's not bad. However, I thoroughly enjoy chocolate. So Nick nods as if wanting to object, but also seems to understand. Babe, the amount of money you make isn't any sort of measure of how much you bring to the relationship. Correct, mostly. You can say that because you make enough to comfortably keep you guys afloat. But I still feel like I should contribute more or something. Carlos is okay. I will say, like, what I have noticed is that it does seem like Carlos has a job, and then he also making less. I'm assuming probably having some like less hours, or having just less of like a physical strain on himself or a mental strain on himself with whatever it is that he does. Seems to take care of a lot of the housework. I see him cleaning a lot. He's always cooking, so he's doing more of like the house-based things. And considering they don't have a child or anyone else that really, I mean, aside from maybe Adam every now and again, that's like contributing to a mess. They'll get to that too. Of course they will. Yes. Carlos is fulfilling his role. Carlos isn't sure why it bothers him, but when he thinks about the condo and the mortgage, the sinking feeling he gets at the, whoa, that made things 10 times worse. No, 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 no. That noise canceling is way too good if I can't hear myself. When he thinks about the condo and the mortgage, the sinking feeling he gets at the thought that he couldn't afford it without Nick might be a larger part of his feelings. Oh, okay, that is a thing. That is a thing. And that's yeah. Dorian is a part of this conversation, so I'm not going to say a ton about it, but there are like financial things that we've been discussing that I've also been discussing with like other smarter and married people in my life. And the ability for, especially in like a bread and butter winner situation, for the butter winner to be able to comfortably live if they should ever walk away from the relationship for any reason is a large point of contention for a lot of people. So I can understand his fears and anxieties around like if something, this is a huge thing right now that like petrifies me. If something were to happen to me tomorrow, I am trying to get everything in place that way Dorian gets my car, gets all the money in my bank, like he's set up and secure that he doesn't need to, I mean, you know, if he chooses to, that's different, but that he doesn't need to like go back to live with his parents, or not that his parents are bad, love his parents, but where he like can be on his own and can continue a life past me. If heavens forbid anything ever happens to me, I want to make sure that he's like set up in that way. So the good relationship, it's important though. It's not feeling trapped in the relationship because of finances. Correct. Set up a POD beneficiary for your bank account. Yes, I'm fighting with my bank right now. Because they do have like a beneficiary thing, and I'm trying to figure out if it is the same as the POD. For anybody that doesn't know that's watching this, a POD is payable on death, which, fun fact, supersedes a will. So, if you have it and something happens to you, your loved one can go to the bank, present your death certificate, and then the bank will say, I'm so sorry for your loss. Would you like that in a check or a transfer? But yes, I'm trying to figure out if the like my bank's beneficiary thing is the same thing as the POD, and no one can give me answers because my bank is set up as a proxy bank for another bank, and I'm getting kind of sick of it. I like it. I like their rates and everything. They're just like setting up stuff like this is stressful. You can also define a TOD beneficiary for your car. Yes, I can. However, I feel like it's just going to be easier to put his title or put his name on the title, which is what we're going to be doing in like a week. Um, just because, yeah, I mean, even if something happens between us, I've already been on the title as an ex, and it was relatively easy. Oh my god, it's relatively easy to get your name off of a car. Um, I'm flabbergasted that when we were there, and mind you, this was a car that I found. My friend sold it to us. Um, yeah, I just told him like you can have the car. It's fine. Whatever. You're more in need of it than I am. And we went to go get my name off of the title, and he tried to make me pay for it. For my me to take my name off of the car that I was letting him have. People, I swear. Hubby and I have done it even though we're obviously both inheriting everything anyway. Fair enough. POD is so fascinating. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be. Unless your bank has no idea what any of their own rules are. Well, that sounds fun. If you put both of you on the title, make sure you're on as or, not and. Yes, I know, like, yeah, fun fact, there's a ton of, like, weird laws around, um, like, specific phrasing, and sometimes having the word and. Like, Dorian and I, part of the reason that he's working right now is that we would like to make a move to the East Coast, and which should be not news to anybody that has watched my channel for a long time. We want to move to the East Coast, and we are looking to buy a house. And so we've been very particular that, like, when we get the house, we are both going to be on the mortgage, and we're both going to be, like, on the deed of the house. But same thing, we have to do it as, like, an or thing rather than an and thing, because should something happen to one of us and we want to say sell it, then it'll be a legal nightmare because one of the ands can't be present for the sale. Same thing with the car. Like, if it's Patrick and Dorian and something happens to me and Dorian wants to sell the car, technically Patrick and Dorian are not selling the car, so it's like a whole legal rigmarole. Legal stuff is hard. Legal stuff is very hard. When you're trying to, like, make sure that your family and your partner and everything are, like, set up properly, just in case the worst happens, like, they make it so difficult, and I don't understand why. Anyway. Large part of his feelings. Yep. Nick takes his hands again. Many households get by just fine on one income, and I have no expectation that you'd work anyway. Fair. I did not for a long time until certain circumstances had to change and it became too expensive to try and freaking leave a state or an area of the country. But okay, let's forget about that for a moment. First of all, I'm hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Same, not hundreds of thousands, but I have far more debt than Dorian. And spent many more years in school than you did. Technically also yes. Because I forget, in addition to, like, having my film degree, I also have part of an English degree, I have part of a social work as applies to minors degree, and I obviously have my massage license, which I had to go through schooling for. So, yes, same. Plus had a residency afterwards that was ridiculously low. Second, we literally would not have this place if you hadn't had so much money saved us while I was in school for the down payment. I won't say totally same there, but yeah, Dorian not having a ton of debt does work out in our benefit sometimes, as opposed to my massive debt. So it's literally thanks to you that we own our home. Third, babe, you literally do all the cooking and most of the cleaning and keep this place from falling apart. That one was hard yes for a while. Like, oh my goodness. firmly believe that Merlin would. Here with me? Not crazy. I firmly believe that Merlin would not have been trained half as well had Dorian not been like on him and doing literally like all of it. So you contribute more than enough. If anything, I should be doing more. Also feel that sometimes. I definitely, yeah, I think I try and overcompensate on some of my days off with like, I need to make sure I do all of the cleaning on this day, and I need to make sure I do all of the such and such like finances and blah 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 on these days because I want to make it feel like I'm doing more around the house than I am rather than just working. All of that really does make him feel better, but Carlos still feels like being stubborn. Still, I guess I'd always like the thought that I could be self-sufficient if I needed to. That's not being stubborn. That is still having a legitimate concern about something in your life that makes you feel uncomfortable, even if I'd never needed it. And you could get by without me and afford the mortgage, but I can. Nope, nuh-uh. Nick actually looks annoyed at that. None of that. I could absolutely not get by without you, Carlos. Fine, so I could afford the mortgage. But then I'd come home every day to an empty place and order some greasy takeout and what? My life would be so utterly lonely without you. Besides, I married you, so neither of us are supposed to be self-sufficient. That's why marriage is a partnership, and there's no one in the world I would rather be partnered with than you, okay? You do more than enough. You're amazing. I love you and can't imagine my life without you. Carlos nods, a smile forcing its way through his indifferent facade despite his best efforts. Same. And I love you too. Nick seems to relax at that. So don't let money get to you, okay? Your worth and what you bring to our relationship and what you give me is in no way measured by the numbers on our tax forms. Okay. Carlos leans in, kissing Nick gently, and feeling reassured now. Thank you. You have nothing to thank me for, Nick says, smiling. This conversation is actually reminding me how much you do for me. So if anything, I'm the one not contributing. Carlos starts to worry again at that. Maybe you do so... I know, Nick chuckles. But we're both good for each other. And right now, I think we should finish up our Valentine's champagne, and then maybe I should contribute a lot of something to certain parts of you in bed. Carlos blushes, watching Nick as he stands and walks back into the kitchen. That sounds... All right, extra fluffs. Ooh. A small 4-year gap this time with warning sexual content. Short, fluffy bits from Carlos and Nick's relationship. Extra fluffs. Love the name. Instantly starting in the bedroom. Carlos pulls open another moving box and examines the contents, trying to figure out where the things should go. He picks up a framed photo of himself and Adam and Nick at their match day, after he and Nick had gotten engaged, thinking it would look good on the wall by the couch in the living room. Babe? Nick says, walking into the room. Carlos puts down the picture frame and looks at his husband, figuring they should decide on wall positions of photographs together, given it's their first condo together. We need an IKEA trip tomorrow. Nick, come on. Nick looks a little guilty at that. Oh god. Okay. I don't think there's sexual content. It said sexual. I mean... We instantly start in the bedroom, so, you know. If it's not, I mean, that's fine as well, I suppose, but... What do we miss? Carlos runs over the list of furniture in his head again, trying to think about the items they may have missed in their previous trip. We need more bookshelves, Nick says. I like you, my man. I literally gave you both my bookshelves already, Carlos says. Also, we bought another one already, so that's 3 bookshelves. Nick nods. I know. I still have books left. You gotta be strategic about it. I don't know what kind of books you have, but you gotta be particular about them. That shouldn't be surprising to Carlos, given the stacks of books that Nick had always had sitting on every available surface in his apartment. But he'd already expected that 3 bookshelves would have been enough to hold all of them. Well, we still have your folding chairs, Carlos teases, remembering how Nick often stacked the books sitting on them. Nick nods, walking out of the room and returning with 2 chairs, setting them up against one of the walls in the bedroom. I was kidding, Carlos says, slightly horrified as he watches Nick grab some stack of books and place them on the chairs. Perfect, Nick says, smirking at Carlos. Would be my response. Carlos pulls out his phone and taps on it. There's a zip car available tomorrow, and IKEA's open for another hour. I don't know, Nick says. I think these chairs make perfectly fine shelves. Carlos shakes his head and takes Nick's hand, dragging him toward the front door. 2 more bookshelves it is, so you have 1 to grow on. I could use one as well, so 3 more bookshelves. Carlos smiles as he finishes reading the wedding card from Nate and Jane and sets it aside. Gross. Okay, yeah, no, there's no sexual content. Well, there is a sexual content. So, sir, Nate and Jake send a cute card. Patrick. Gross. I don't know why I said Patrick. I don't think I've ever heard you call me Patrick. He has textbooks. Fair. I don't know, I guess my textbooks were quite different. To an extent. I don't know. I mean, granted, yeah, I didn't... My medical textbooks were like a year. As opposed to, 8 to 12? 8, I think? But, yeah, no, gross. Throw it away. In retrospect, I'm glad we asked for cash instead of having a registry. That way we could buy household items over time, as we needed them, instead of having a bunch of them all at once. Fair? I don't know how I feel about that. Mostly because I want like 8 people at my wedding, so I kind of feel like gifts would be stupid. Nick doesn't say anything, and Carlos looks over at him. Nick seems to be staring at a card. Is everything okay? Nick nods. Yeah, Adam's parents wrote us a check. Is that surprising? Carlos scoots closer and blinks when he looks at the amount. I think they added an extra 0. 2. It feels improper for us to have this, Nick says, and Carlos takes the card from him. To our son Carlos and his loving husband Nick, he reads, suddenly tearing up at the words. Dude. Nick puts an arm around his back and takes the card back from him, reading it aloud. To our son Carlos and his loving husband Nick, congratulations, and we hope that the 2 of you have a very long, fulfilling, and happy marriage. We know that we could never take the place of your parents, but are honored that you chose to involve us in your special day. We hope this gift helps out the 2 of you as you start your lives together. Please reach out as needed. Oh my God. As you both will always be family to us. Love, Scott and Denise. Just the card itself is fine. That's fine. Oh. Carlos is sobbing now. Oh, same. If I were reading this privately. Despite himself, Nick kisses his cheek gently. We are loved, Carlos, by so many people. All Carlos can do is nod. He definitely feels it. You try it first. Carlos takes a forkful of cake and brings it up to his nose, sniffing. Doesn't smell too bad, at least. Why is this a thing, dude? Oh God, is this the year after you get married on your first anniversary, you eat a piece from your cake. You were the one who wanted to save the top layer for our first anniversary. Nick takes his own forkful but doesn't lift it to his mouth, watching Carlos instead. I would be so terrified. I forgot that this is a thing until like I don't know, until I see stuff like this. And so it also makes me think like Dorian and I need to make sure that we have a cake that has like no dairy products in it or anything that I would be uncomfortable, even frozen, having a year later. Because I heard it was a thing. Carlos takes the bite, chewing thoughtfully. Okay, so it's actually not bad. Not as good as when it was fresh, of course, but not bad. Nick nods, taking his own bite. So it was the best cake in the world then. And it's still probably solid top 100 now, even after having been frozen for a year. Carlos kisses Nick quickly. You know, we could just go buy some more cake. They do cake for events that aren't weddings. Okay, Mr. Moneybags. Nick grins as he takes another bite. Really, Bob? So I was gonna get on you about see no sexual content, Nick standing there naked. Lavender cheesecake it is, right? One sec. All right, pausing to make sure that Bob doesn't need me to read this beforehand on the just chatting screen. Oh yeah, this is okay. I enjoy having a dev of a game that I'm playing in my chat. That way I just know. Hi. Carlos blushes, having been caught staring at his husband in the shower. Hi. Nick grins, holding out one arm as he soaps himself with the other. Are you coming to join me? I already showered this morning, Carlos says, even as he starts unbuttoning his shirt. Well, I think there's a few things we can do where I'll have to clean you up afterward. Okay. Yeah, that's... I feel like showering with your partner is always such like a hot idea. The actual practice of it, I feel like it can be more of like a sensual thing than like an outright sexual thing. Granted, I also know that like this has been a thing with me and literally all of my partners is I like to boil myself alive in my showers. And my partners don't. It's horrible in winter unless you have two showers. Yeah, that's part of Dorian and I have like this layout that we kind of want for our home. Oh, hubby also likes the water a lot hotter than I do. Your husband and I seem like we would get along very well. But yeah, part of our like dream shower is having a shower that is in no way connected to the bathtub. We would like a soaking tub, like that is specifically designed for just when we want to take a bath, and it's not at all connected to like our average daily showers that we do. And having a shower that has two shower heads, and also an over the head one because Dorian likes the rain shower head. We currently have one of those that we had to install ourselves. And it's okay. I don't know. Tubs are nice. They are very nice when they're just bathtubs. I don't know. They become a hassle to clean, and then also since we have 3 people living in our apartment, it's it's more trouble than it's worth to try and take a bath, honestly. Carlos lays his head on Nick's shoulder, who kisses it. This is really nice. Nick nods as they both stare out at the water over the boat railing. It is. I don't know how we never thought to do this before. A loudspeaker nearby crackles to life, announcing that the food is ready, but neither Carlos nor Nick move. I love you, babe. Carlos's arm tightens around his husband. I love you too. That was cute. All right. Where are we at? We're at about 2 hours. It took me 2 hours to read eight. That can't be correct. No, 3,800 words. Okay. That seems more appropriate. Cool. Okay. Horrifying. You had a lot of opinions. I have a lot of opinions in general. I always have rush through this. You know me. I like to savor. The writer of this did a really good job. All right, cool. Fun fact going into this, I feel like this is where Nick and I will have heavy deviation for drama purposes. So I too succumbed to getting the panini. And I am lucky and showed no symptoms. I only knew that I had it because Dorian also had it, and Dorian is not as lucky as I. So, yeah, this is gonna be fun. Read the chapter. Okay. Point of view, Carlos, breaking the surface. Nick gets, I think it's been long enough that I can say it. Also, we're like 2 hours into the video. Nick gets COVID. 2020. Approximate word count 3,500. That is lucky. I think I've gotten it twice. Dorian's gotten it like 4 times. The only time I ever felt anything was I had like a really bad headache the second time that I got it. Granted, we're also thinking that that might have been because of some dietary choices I was making and how much stress I was putting my body under and a bunch of other things that could have had nothing to do with the disease. So, Monday, August 17th, 2020. Carlos drums his fingers on the table nervously, looking around the condo as he waits for the FaceTime call to connect. Even though it's been almost 2 months, there's still a reminder. Okay. Even though it's been almost 2 months, there's still reminders of Nick everywhere. Coffee mug on the counter, his light coat on the hook by the door that Carlos hasn't been able to bear to put away. His running shoes, laces still haphazardly tangled in the shoe rack. The call connects and Carlos's heart leaps as his husband's face appears on screen. Hey! Oh, hey, baby! Carlos fights back the tears. It's stupid, really. They talk every few days, as much as Nick's increasingly hectic schedule allows. But it's still not enough. He still misses him, more and more each day. I can't do this anymore. Come home, please. I don't care about the risk. I'll be fine. Okay. When cases had started rising and the city had started shutting down, he had been more worried for Adam, who more often saw patients and was one of the ones sent earlier on to help with the more serious cases. Adam had talked to him about amputations. Carlos remembers, and he isn't sure how exactly they got on the topic, but it was something for Adam to focus his fatigue brain on, and he did his best to listen. It was hard not being able to see his best friend, but every night or sometimes every 2. Wow, sorry. Ooh, hang on. Okay. Oof. A, it's hot. B, I was living with someone in the medical field when this happened. Also, this is very close to when Dorian and I. Yeah. So. Ooh. Like, the topic itself, the pandemic and everything about it, that isn't quite as hard. It's just yeah, that was like not a super great part of my life. So, we're going to get through this. Okay. It was hard not being able to see his best friend, but every night, or sometimes every two, his husband came home to him, exhausted but still pressing kisses and reassurances into him. And that was enough. At least it was enough to get through this. He hadn't been worried because Nick didn't work with patients, at least not often. Nick toiled over specimens and samples in the back, away from the people, away from the risk. But then the patients had kept coming and they couldn't keep up. Nick had come home one day to say that they needed his help in the wards, that he thought he should move out to a hotel room, at least until things calmed down a little. Carlos hadn't wanted to agree. He told Nick that he didn't care, that he was healthy. Nick told him a story of 20 and 30-year-olds dying under his care and how helpless he felt about not being able to do anything. This is why I'm recommending you do this chapter and the next one together. Okay. I trust you. I will maybe also take your advice on just sort of speeding through it, though. So I will probably keep a lot of opinions to myself. That can't be you, he'd said. I can't lose you, Carlos. Ooh. That can't be you, he said. I can't lose you, Carlos. Not like that. Not if it's my fault. So Carlos had agreed, and they'd made love in a way that felt both like the world's worst goodbye and a promise that Nick would be back. And then Carlos had helped him pack a suitcase like he'd done so many times in the past for a conference or a seminar and let him go. Carlos shakes his head, pushing the memories aside. Baby, I need you. Cases are coming down. It's safer now. Please come home. Nick looks at him and he chooses to take his expression as understanding, even though he just looks sad and stressed. Ava, please, he repeats. Ava, I'm positive. Of what? It takes him a second, and then he doesn't want to believe it. That you want to move back in? Nick snorts. That what sounds like a laugh, but it's full of bitterness. Babe, I tested positive. What for what? Babe. Nick, for what? Babe. Nicholas! Nick flinches. Carlos, I'm positive. I have COVID. Later. He stares at the phone, at the menu screen, long after they've hung up. He tells himself everything will be okay. Nick hadn't been feeling any symptoms other than a slight cough, and he was back in his hotel room resting, just in case. If anything, he'd felt more guilty about no longer being able to work, help his colleagues, and Carlos took a bit of reassurance from that at least. Okay, we're tracking with Nick and I so far. I always just kind of have a cough because my lungs hate me. He stares at the contact list, finger hovering over Adam's name. You shouldn't bother him. He wasn't even sure if Adam would be there. If anything, he was probably at work, and if he wasn't, he'd be passed out in his bed after inhaling some energy bar and jumping through a cold shower. Why? God, if this isn't already a bad chapter. He calls Nate instead. Maybe, or Thursday, August 20th. Baby, Carlos starts. Nick tries to force a smile on his face before being racked with another bout of coughing. Baby, you look worse. Thanks. I feel worse. Nick winces as if in pain. But this gets worse before it gets better, right? You need to go to the hospital. I'm watching my O2 stats. If it drops to 90, I will. What is it now? Carlos struggles to remember what the number should be, even though he's normally good at remembering this stuff. All he comes up with is that it doesn't need to be at 100. 93? That's not good, right? Nick shrugs before coughing again. It's not ideal, no, but I know what to watch out for and how to take care of myself. I need to save the hospital for people that can't do that. 91. Carlos says instead of everything he wants to say. What? If it drops to 91, you're going to the hospital. It's not a big difference, he knows, but it's something that helps him feel better at least. Carlos. I'm more stubborn than you, and you know that. Don't make me make it 92. Nick smiles at that. Soft. That makes him feel better. Fine. If I hit 91, I'll go to the hospital. Okay? Okay. He watches the screen for a bit, just wanting to see Nick. Even shivering and wrapped up in blankets, he thinks his husband is still the most handsome person in the world. I should let you rest. Nick doesn't protest. That might be a good idea. Just stay on the phone. Just stay on the phone and sleep. It's fine. You don't have to call me tomorrow. Just rest. But Nick coughs again. I like talking to you. Yeah, but less talking and more breathing. It might help. Nick looks like he wants to object, but that's not how things work. That's not how things work, but instead he just nods. Good night. I love you. Carlos says, despite wanting to keep him on the line for hours. I love you too. Then the call ends. Saturday, August 22nd. His phone rings, startling him awake from a nightmare. He was running towards Nick, but unable to reach him. He shakes the feeling off and grabs his phone. He doesn't recognize the number and curses telemarketers, almost throwing the phone to the side before he thinks better of it. Hello? Mr. Carlos Price? He doesn't like the sound of that. That's me. This is Nancy calling from Zuckerberg General. He really doesn't like the sound of that. I'm calling to inform you that your husband, Nicholas Price, was admitted into our intensive care unit this morning at 4:22 a.m. What? She continues on about COVID procedures and visitor restrictions, and he doesn't hear anything she's saying, instead feeling his heart's broken and his world has fallen apart. Later. Hey, dude. Adam looks exhausted, but still looking at him with concern. Sorry to pull you away from whatever, Carlos says. Adam looks like he's outside, so at least he knows he didn't wake him up. It's like 7 a.m. It's fine, dude. You actually caught me at a good time. I just got off a shift and was heading home to crash for a bit. Adam looks around, and then Carlos realizes he's crossing the street. How's Nick doing? Well on the mend? Chico, Then the tears are falling and he's shaking, sobbing. Dude. He can't really make out the screen very well, but he could tell Adam's staring at him now. Dude, Carlos, breathe with me. Follow my voice. Eh, 5-1. He tries, but he can't focus. No, Adam, he's at the hospital, in the ICU. Adam's face seems to fall. Oh, dude, I'm so sorry. What? Do you know if he's been ventilated? What? I don't. Why would I know? Did they tell you anything? Probably, but I couldn't exactly focus at the time. For now, Adam nods, his doctor face on now. Okay, if you can get any details or any information, particularly his numbers, I can help you reassure him, okay? What if Carlos, he's young, he's healthy, he's gonna make it through. What about all those young and healthy people who don't? Dude, listen to me. You know Nick. You know no one fights as hard as he does. He does. And there's nothing he fights harder for than you. Yeah, he does. So he'll make it, okay? But what if... Stop that. He's going to make it. Carlos, I know that, like, oh, this is so hard. I know I said I'd keep opinions to myself, but, like, this is so hard because Carlos needs to be able to say that he's nervous, that something's going to happen to Nick. And that needs to be okay. And in the same breath, Adam can, especially in the position he's in, cannot afford to think pessimistically about anything happening to his best friend. Those are very hard impasses to come to. Carlos seizes into that, needing to believe it. Okay. Friday, August 28th. And here he is. Nurse Linda switches the camera view, and he can make out Nick on a bed surrounded by machines and tubes that he's sure Adam could tell him the purpose of, but that instead just make him worry. He isn't sure if it's better or worse seeing him. Opinions to myself. But when the nurse had offered, he'd seized on it anyway. The nagging thought that it might be the last time he saw it. He saw him in his head. Okay, never mind. I'm not keeping opinions to myself. So there's, like, the thing that would get me in this, that is also a conversation that everyone should just have with their partner, is the last image that people want of them. Because if something like this were to happen to me, and it could in any way be avoided, I don't want Dorian's last image of me to be of me weak and frail and fragile and dying. That's not a conversation I'd ever thought of. It is one that I have thought of multiple times. And while it would be nice to make sure that anything that needs to be said is said, if something like this had happened to me, I would vehemently refuse at any juncture that I could having people that I care about physically see me. If they want to talk on the phone, that's fine. If they need something reassuring them that I am here and that they can say things to me, then that's fine. But I would never want someone to see me that way if I thought it was going to be the last way that they ever saw me. I think I need the opposite. If hubby was dying, I need to see him no matter what condition he's in. Like, I wouldn't accept that it was real until I saw him, you know? That's very fair, though. Yours is also very fair. Yours is very valid. People often have a difficult time with that closure if they don't get to see and be like a part of the departure. And I don't know if it is more or less selfish to have my thought where in my brain, I know that they would get through it at some point. It could be, you know, a couple weeks. It could be a few years. At some point, they would definitely accept that I was gone. And their image of me would not be that. It would be everything else that made our life. But I also know that doing that might make it more difficult for them to accept and get through things. So, like I said, it's a conversation to have. His numbers are better today. Linda's voice is unreasonably cheerful and it pulls him out of his thoughts. He's still sedated since he's still got the vent in, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to wean him off it soon. Oh, that's good. At least it was an improvement over yesterday, when they weren't even discussing such a possibility, and that would terrify me too. Positive news is good, but I would be so fearful of a death rally. He's fighting, Carlos. And it's contained to his lungs for now. That's a good thing. Not if they were my lungs. Right, sure. Do you want his lab numbers for today? He grabs a piece of paper and a pencil. You really shouldn't bother Adam with this, but at least having them gives him the option. Yeah. She rattles off some details and he jots them down, hoping he's gotten them right. Carlos, I normally wouldn't say this, but I really think he's going to be okay. Yeah? Yeah, lots of positive movement, limited other complications. His stats hasn't dropped worrying levels again, and we've been able to reduce the vent settings. Keep positive, okay? I'll try. She seems to pick up the phone again, and the camera switches back to her. Even with the mask, she... You can tell from her eyes that she's smiling, trying to be reassuring. I'll call you again tomorrow. Thanks. She hangs up, and he tries to swallow the knot in his stomach again. He looks over the numbers on the paper, comparing them to yesterday's. He isn't really sure what they mean. He shakes his head, vowing not to bother Adam again. And he calls Nate. Bob, I swear, you wrote this and you came into my stream and you just knew how you'd be able to push my buttons. Tuesday, September 1st. Hey, Nick's voice is dry and crackling, and he's sure it even hurts to talk, but instead Carlos has the biggest grin on his face at the moment at the sound of it. Hey, yourself. You're not supposed to talk, so just sit there and listen, okay? Nick looks like he wants to argue, but then nods. Okay. What did I just say? Nick smiles slightly at that, and that smile means the world to him. We're very pleased with his progress. He can hear Nurse Greg's voice, and remembers that he's holding the phone for him. We're not out of the woods yet, but the worst is definitely behind us, and he fortunately had limited other complications. If you ever play Zerwhoop, then the roles we play. Got it. It always takes me a second to remember what those stand for. I'm gonna sit here and laugh the whole time. Oh, I intend to. Believe me, I intend to. I'm pretty sure it's next after this. I think it's the only one that I'm doing out of order. Oh. He remembers that part at least. How he'd fallen into the online pit of horror stories and how the conversations he'd had with Adam about amputation had come back unbidden into his mind. As Nick had started improving slowly, he'd allowed himself to worry less about losing him and more about what could happen, even if he didn't. Does that mean I can visit? He knows the answer to that part, but needs to ask anyway. Unfortunately, due to safety protocols in effect, no visitors are allowed at this time. Sorry, babe. Okay, you shush, or I'm gonna start talking to you about work and spend a particularly long amount of time discussing the current fight we're having with Blue Cross. He knows how much Nick hates insurance companies. Nick chuckles at that before wincing in pain, and Carlos immediately feels bad about it. While you're in the hospital, I think I perfected my cheese souffles. At least they don't fall anymore, and they taste right, so you have something to look forward to when you come home. And nuh-uh. He preempts the response when Nick opens his mouth to speak. Nods only. Nick nods, smiling. He needed something to focus on in the evenings and tackle one of his biggest culinary nemesis, proved to be a decent one. I found an article that said to try xanthan gum. Yep, that's how you pronounce that, and if anybody wants to fight me on it, you clearly don't live with a chef. and that seems to work. But it feels like there has to be a better way. I mean, real chefs don't use xanthan gum, do they? I don't know, do they? Nick shrugs. Maybe there's more work I can do on them after all. I wonder if it's the oven not heating even. You owe me a new oven, mister, for putting me through this for the past few weeks. No, for the past 2 months. It's a joke, but Nick looks apologetic anyway. Carlos wants to take it back, but the words catch in his throat. I love you so much. He's trying not to cry, but a tear makes it out anyway. I love you too, babe, Nick says. Carlos allows that one. Probably best if we let him rest. The nurse's voice pulls him out of his thoughts, and he finds himself hating that even their private moments aren't private before realizing how thankful he is that they even have this. Yeah, get better, okay? Nick nods again, and the camera view switches back to Greg. Same time on Thursday work for you? That'd be great, yeah. And thank you for everything. It's been a pleasure, Carlos. Truly. We've all been pulling for Nick over here. He did a lot for us. You've both done a lot for us. So now we just want to do whatever we can for the two of you. Well, thank you anyway. We'll talk soon. The call ends and Carlos slumps back into the couch, but this time it's relief. Everything's gonna be okay. Sunday, September 13th. Carlos doesn't have words to describe the relief he feels when he sees Nick being wheeled out the front doors of the hospital. Nick looks weak and pale, but it's still him. Carlos glances over at Adam, standing a safe distance away from him, dressed in the familiar-looking hospital protective gear. Adam smiles at him. At least he thinks he's smiling, and nods. He reminds himself to give Adam a hard time later for ditching his responsibilities, at least for a bit, so he could be here. Hey, Nick's voice sounds stronger than even the last time they'd spoke, and his heart soars at it. He's sure the grin on his face can be seen from space, even behind the mask. Hey, yourself. Nick starts to stand shaking, and Carlos starts toward him before stopping himself. Can I? The nurse nods, and he allows himself to close the remaining distance, taking Nick's arm and helping him up. Nick feels much thinner than the last time he'd held on, but that makes him worry again. Thinks, sorry, just still not used to this. You were lying in a hospital bed for a month, baby. It's fine. I've been using water jugs as weights for home workouts, so I'm still more than capable of carrying you. Nick smiles at that, grasping Carlos's arm with both hands and stabilizing himself. Do you have a means of transportation? Oh, yeah. Carlos fumbles in his pocket for a zip car key. Should we wheel him to the car? It's only a few feet away, but he doesn't want to strain Nick any more than he has to. No, I can do it. Just might need a bit of support. Carlos shakes his head. His husband is stubborn as ever, but helps him to the door and seats him in the passenger seat. I need to get back, dude, Adam says, but I'm glad you're going to be okay. Nick smiles at him. Thanks, Adam. You really didn't have to be here. Yeah, like I was going to miss this. Then Adam stops, fumbling at his belt for something, and Carlos realizes he's getting paged. But I actually have to go deal with this code. Don't take things too quickly, dude. And Carlos, don't let him. Yeah, Chico. He wants to say more, but Adam's waving and walking quickly back into the building. Thanks for getting me, Nick says as Carlos turns back to the car and makes sure Nick is properly buckled in. And Carlos laughs at the absurdity of it. What, you were going to drive yourself home? Nick's smirking. Something like that. Well, I need you home in one piece, so that's not an option. He pauses. There's a souffle in the oven waiting for you. You left the oven on it? That was instantly where my brain just went. Carlos kisses his forehead, feeling more than a little overjoyed that he can do that again, and shakes his head. The oven's off, I think I timed it right for the residual heat, but they still might be a little burnt. I'd eat a burnt souffle every day for the rest of my life if it meant you were there. Carlos smiles, kissing him again before gently shutting the car door. I know. Later. It isn't until Nick's back in bed at home and he's lying next to him after returning the car that Carlos finally starts to feel like he can relax. You didn't get up while I was gone, did you? Babe. Nick looks guilty. You did, didn't you? I just wanted some water. Fair enough. I would have either used that one or said that I needed to pee. There's water right there. Carlos gestures at the bottle on the nightstand. Yeah, but bottled water isn't good for the environment. Oh my god. Yup. The similarities, they're all there. You're impossible. Carlos is actually really annoyed, but he kisses his head anyway. Well, you're stuck with me, so it's just a joke, but it still hits him. Maybe I thought Nope, this is not the time. When he's still trying to feel better is not the time. Adam would have been an okay person. I guess your conversations with Nate. Nick's face falls. Shh, I know. So sorry. And he takes comfort in the feel of the metal band under his fingers. I'm here. Okay. I'm okay. Yeah. Carlos starts. Oh. Carlos stops. How okay? He tries to remember what he'd heard from the doctor, but he figures Nick would have understood it better than he would anyway. Still reduced lung capacity. Same. And some of that might be permanent, same. Nothing to do with COVID, just bad lungs. So I'm probably not going to be running any marathons anytime. Still have a bit of a headache sometimes. Same. Nothing to do with COVID anymore. But that's it. He shrugs, and Carlos appreciates that he's made it understandable for him instead of spitting out numbers. I was lucky. To be fair, so was I. Doesn't feel very lucky, but compared to what could have happened, he supposes it is. I could have lost you. He needs to say it. I know. Nick's hand squeezes his, but he didn't. I could lose Adam. He doesn't know which thought's worse. Babe, Adam isn't sick. Yeah, but don't think like that. Besides, the vaccines are coming soon, and Adam will be one of the first in line. Almost over, babe. That doesn't make him feel better. Oh, that does make him feel better. It wouldn't make me feel better. Yeah, okay. Nick smiles at him softly, reassuringly, before it turns into a smirk. And I believe I was promised a burnt souffle. Nicholas Edward Price, you are insufferable. Nick doesn't wince like he expected, instead reaching up for him and pulling him down for a gentle kiss that is still somehow everything. Yeah, and you love me for it. And he really does. Updated profiles. Why? Right. It's almost over. Oh, poor sweet 2020 child. Oh, yeah. Oh. Okay, so the next one. Wow, I did speed through that. Oh, God. Oh, I got a new background. Love it. Ooh, yeah. You Stole My Soul is the companion that I should read with that. Yes. 3,800 words. Is this a real warning, or is it something you just threw in there again? You stole my soul. Point of view, Carlos. 3,800 words. Warning. Explicit sex. Which is insane because this is a family-friendly channel. Carlos and Nick reconnect after Nick's recovery. Not a real warning, and shorter because the real thing is mostly sex. Okay, so it would be 3,800 words if I had downloaded the extra bit of this. Sunday, September 13th. The Zoom call dings, and Chris's face appears on the screen. Carlos grins at him. Hey, dude. I just remembered that James is a celebrity. And yeah, we were still dealing with like vaccine stuff when Dorian worked on the movie when he was an assistant. And 100% like I don't want to get flagged as like breeding misinformation or something, but 100% like if you had money, you could definitely work ways around the system with getting vaccinated, because when he was escorting one of the more famous celebrities to the airport, he was asking them like what they were kind of doing next, and they were trying to make polite conversation, and the family member who was there with aforementioned celebrity, the only one I have mentioned by name was Madeleine Pesch, by the way, and this was not her, so I don't want to see any slander or any lawsuits from Madeleine Pesch. So one of them and their family member were pretty much saying that like once they got back to California, they were instantly going to get the latest vaccine, which was not yet available for the common folk. And they straight up were paying to like jump the line and get vaccinated early. So I'm betting that Chris and James are like sitting pretty right now. Just like healthy as can be. Yeah, I really hated that part. Yeah, it was definitely something. And like I definitely thought, a part of me thought like, no one's doing that. No one's getting special treatment. Like legitimately, because this is being done by our government and whatever, like it's going to government officials, going to our first responders, like yada yada yada. And then nope, we know famous people, and they're like, oh yep, nope, we're skipping the line. Money can buy you anything, including your health. Like, oh, okay, cool, good to know. Good to know that's not just a conspiracy. So yeah, that was fun. That was fun to know. Hey, Chris says wearily, how's Nick doing? Carlos shifts on the bed and re-angles the laptop so Nick is in the frame. Hi, Chris, Nick says, and Chris immediately looks relieved. I'm glad you finally made it home. It was about time, Carlos says, shifting the camera back as Nick protests. Shush, baby, you're supposed to be sleeping. I agreed because you said you just wanted to say hi quickly. The call dings again. Uh-huh. And Nate and Jake appear on screen. Love Jake. We love Jake. Who's that? Nick asks, and Carlos turns the screen back. Hi, Nate and Jake. Nick, I'm glad you're finally home. Nick looks relieved, too. Good, I'm glad Nate looks relieved. Time to make a game that's all about Nate and Jake all the time and make you play it. You've already promised me a game, sir. You've already... Yeah. You're working on a game already that you said I am a large contributor of. So do that one first. Do that one. Then you can make a torture game for me. Then that'll be fine. And Daddy game is your fault. I need to work on it. You do need to work on it. I have a request. Can you please have Can you please have one of them say anything similar to the thing that I sent you? About, like, you're my main daddy, UWU. That would just, it would make my heart soar. But I want them to, like, audibly say it. I don't want it to be, like, in a text. I want them to verbally say it out loud. And for it to be acknowledged as, like, did you just say UWU? Like you were making a text face at me? Please and thank you. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Disagree? Hard disagree? Nate looks relieved. Yeah, good for him. And Jake smiles next to him. We love Jake. We love Jake. Oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no. Oh no? Thank you, it's good to be home. I'm nervous what the oh no's are. Or if I'm just not remembering. How are you feeling? Jake asks, and Carlos shakes his head, turning the laptop away again. Okay, nap time, and if you protest, I'm gonna burn your dinner too. Oh god, it's that horrible TikTok song. Oh, sir, you confuse me with a much younger man. I don't do the tickum of talks. Burnt foods are carcinogenic, babe. Doesn't stop me from having burnt toast almost every day of my life. Nick says, but acquiesces, closing his eyes and pulling the comforter up to his chin. Carlos kisses his forehead and picks up the laptop, moving to the living room and closing the bedroom door behind him. Feels guilty somehow, leaving his husband alone after they'd spent so much time apart, and when all he wants to do is wrap his arms around Pat's favorite food, burnt, salty toast. I do not salt my toast, sir. That is ridiculous. However, I do like cinnamon on my toast. That is always a good time. So you're correct that it's a spice is used on it. Wrap his arms around him again and never let go. But he reminds himself that Nick really does need to rest. Are you doing okay? Chris asks, and Carlos can't help but laugh at it. Dude, the three of you have probably been literal lifesavers over the past few weeks. I can't thank you enough for these calls. I apologize that we didn't think of it sooner, Nate says. Yeah, you should. You should. You've always been kind of pretty self-obsessed, haven't you, Nate? It should have been an obvious thing to do once we had to stop our bi-weekly dinner meetups. And Jake's been really happy to talk to Chris again regularly, too. It shouldn't have taken Nick getting sick for us to finally arrange something. Cinnamon and sea salt toast. Got it. Look, Bob, if you're offering to make me a meal, yes, please. Carlos feels a pang of regret and nostalgia at the memory of cooking for Jake and how much Nick had enjoyed discussing the meals with him. It had been good for Carlos, too, not just because it meant he and Nate had picked up their friendship after the wedding and rediscovered how much they enjoyed each other's company, which is exactly 0% because that's how enjoyable Nate. But because his heart felt full when he watched their husbands interact. Jake's shy and reserved personality so quickly turned into a talkative and bubbly young man who had a calm demeanor that Jake was often even more eager to try Carlos's new experiment than Nick was. Well, you two and other Nick, because I still can't pronounce that name, and Hannah were doing the bubble thing, so life was probably pretty normal for you. Uh, yeah. More opinions that I. This wasn't a bad method. This wasn't a bad method for a lot of people. He's jealous, but he doesn't think he would have been able to trust two other people that much, or have two other people trust him that much, especially earlier on when Nick was still home. Nick did work in a hospital after all. Yeah, crazy. Hi, James says from Chris's screen, and Chris moves over slightly on the couch. James sits down next to him. Dude, I caught your stream the other night. Where'd you get these ideas? Carlos still isn't sure why the one-man reenactment of Star Trek scenes in Shakespearean style had been so captivating. Because I could see that weirdly drawing in a crowd, given he understood so little of it for so many reasons. But that's also really funny because of like William Shatner. But he'd still rewatch the stream a dozen times afterwards. James laughs. It's mostly Chris's ideas. It's just nice to have something to do again. Hollywood still shut down? Jake asks before blushing. Sorry, stupid question. Are you still doing Jackbox? Chris asks, or do you need it? Are we still doing Jackbox? Chris asks, or do you need to talk, Carlos? Or anyone? Carlos shakes his head. No, I don't need distraction today, but that's because I'm calm today for the first time in a month. So I don't need to be talked down from anyone, for once. But thank you. He really does feel calm. The usual tightness in his chest that had been familiar even before Nick had gotten sick finally gone. So Jackbox is fine. Yeah, it's clarifying. James raises an eyebrow and Chris turns to him and says something. I'm glad Nick's home again and continuing to recover, Carlos, James says, and Carlos can feel relief wash over him again. Thanks, dude. I am too. Are you joining us this afternoon? Depends on what we'd be playing, James shrugs. Let's do that drawing game again with the owl, Nick suggests, and Carlos feels like he's on board with that one and nods. Chris sets up the game, and as they join on the game, and as they... Oh. Ooh. Okay. Hi. We're good. Okay. Chris sets up the game, and as they join and the game starts, Carlos glances over at the closed bedroom door and thinks of his husband sleeping behind it. Things really are going to be. Monday, September 14th. Breakfast time, Carlos says as he walks into the room with a muffin and some juice. Nick looks up at him from bed fondly, before putting a bookmark in his book and setting it on the nightstand. Actually, can I eat at the table? I don't want you exerting yourself, baby. Nick shakes his head. I've been lying down in a hospital bed for a month. I think some sitting up would be good for me. Actually, that's probably pretty fair. Is that your expert medical opinion? That's my expert medical opinion, and I am technically a medical professional, so... Please, I'll sit on the couch instead of at the table, if it'll make you feel better. Carlos considers it for a moment. Fine. You're staying right there until I set the food out and come back to help you. Nick looks like he wants to protest, but instead just nods. Carlos sets up some plates, napkins, and drinks at the coffee table before returning and helping support Nick on his way out to the living room. They sit together and Nick leans against him, more from a desire for closeness than out of any need. Did you make these? Nick's chewing a bite of muffin, and Carlos resists the urge to tell him not talk while he's eating, or he could choke. I did. I've been trying new combinations, and it's nice to have someone else to try them out instead of having to eat them myself. It's hard to make fewer than about 10 muffins, because you can't exactly split an egg. Alright, you really must be, like, hitting that at-home workout hard then, though, if you're not putting on the pandemic, 50? Ow. I'm gonna guess zucchini and walnut with cinnamon. and a hint of chili powder. Carlos shakes his head, always amazed at Nick's ability to identify flavors. What Nick lacked in cooking abilities, he more than made up for in appreciation and enthusiasm for eating the results. Large, large difference between Nick and I there. That's right. I was wondering if I should throw a berry in too. It probably would have been too much. Maybe next time. What did I do to deserve this? Baby, you do everything. You deserve everything. Carlos forces away the tears that threaten to come. I love you, Carlos, Nick says, and Carlos wants to hear that. And Carlos wants to hear that every day for the rest of his life, after being so afraid he never would again. I love you too. He kisses Nick's temple, and they finish eating together in a comfortable silence. Later, Carlos climbs into bed slowly, trying to disturb Nick as little as possible, even though he's pretty sure he's not asleep. He's proven right when Nick opens his eyes and turns toward him. Hey, have a nice nap? I don't think I was really asleep. I was just resting my eyes for a bit. I've been sleeping so much recently that it's sometimes hard to sleep now. Fair enough. Must be nice, dude, Carlos jokes before feeling guilty about it. I mean, your body's still recovering, so you should still rest as much as possible. Nick's hand finds his between them and grasps it tightly. Carlos tries not to think about how much he'd missed that too. You didn't come to bed last night. Oh yeah, I didn't want to disturb you, so I slept on the couch. In truth, he'd also been worried about his ability to keep his hands off his husband after being apart for so long, and that would probably be the last thing Nick needed at the moment as he recovered. Probably. Also, given, like, your bedroom roles, yeah, I think that'd be a touch much for Nick. But it had also been torture, so he'd allowed himself to join Nick tonight, promising himself that he'd be on his best behavior. I missed you. I missed you too, Carlos says as he squeezes Nick's hand. Nick doesn't respond, but seemingly thinking for a bit. Can I lie on top of you? He asks finally. Carlos shakes his head. Baby. I miss you, Carlos. I miss touching you and kissing you and having sex with you. It's been 10 weeks, and even though I can't remember a lot of that time, my body still knows how long it's been. Your body is still repairing itself, baby. You don't need that added stress right now. Hard for him to turn down what he too desperately wants. I think it'd be good for both of us. I mean, technically, what is it I'm thinking? So there is a certain study that indicates that your body actually can create a higher reparation count or like a strengthened immune system or something from having sex. So if that helps them push things along, I'm sure there are also just as many studies that say that it is terrible for you to do that because of all the physical exertion that it puts on you and physical stress and strain and blah, blah, blah when you're trying to heal. But, you know. Carlos thinks, if you were a doctor, would you advise yourself to engage in even light sexual activity at this time? If I was my doctor, I would advise myself to reconnect with my husband after spending more than 2 months apart. Also fair. Nick, please. Nick's hand moves downward. I know you need this too. Carlos sighs, closing his eyes and letting Nick's touch wash over him. Fine, you can lie on top of me, but no promises for anything beyond that. I mean, I feel like there's things that you can do that are not very physically stressful for the body. Things that I'm pretty sure if Nick's just been lying there, he's maybe already been doing to himself. Just saying. He can feel Nick shift next to him, and he opens his eyes again, helping maneuver Nick so until he's on top of him. It feels amazing, of course, but the fact that his husband feels significantly lighter and frailer than he remembers is sobering. Yeah, I can imagine that. My eyes are betraying me again. Yeah, I do feel like that might take you out of it a little bit to like realize that your partner is still not the way that they were. Nick just smiles at him, kissing him gently. His mouth doesn't taste the best at the moment, but Carlos can't bring himself to care. I love you. I missed you. Nick kisses him again. That shouldn't do it, but suddenly the pain and need from the past month and hit Carlos all at once, and his body shakes as he sobs. I'm, I'm sorry. He tries to work out between sobs, but Nick just shushes him, kissing gentle reassurances into his cheeks and the corners of his mouth. Shh. Okay, I'm here. I'm here, and it's okay. I thought I'd lost you. They called and said you were in the ER, and they showed me, and you were so. Shh. You don't know what I'd do without you. Shh. You don't have to worry about that anymore. He shakes his head and grabs Nick, kissing him more roughly and desperately than he probably should, but Nick melts into it, and he can feel himself calming down at it. They break, and Nick stares into his eyes, smiling, before his expression turns mischievous, and he moves his hips against Carlos. Carlos moans through the tears and sensation, bringing him back into the present. I only agreed to you lying on top of me. My hips must have slipped, Nick says as he's smirking, and Carlos somehow loves him all the more for it. Hey, seriously though, your heart's been strained, your lungs are still really not good, and I want to avoid breaking out that supplemental oxygen if I can. I really think we shouldn't be doing this right now. Nick bites his lip, and Carlos knows he knows he's right. Fine. Nick rolls off him and immediately misses the pressure. But can you... Carlos understands what he's asking. It feels like it's probably harmless enough. I have a feeling I know what he's going to do. And yes, I feel like that's a relatively harmless thing that is totally fine for you to do when you're sick, to yourself or to your partner. Totally fine. Fine, but if I catch you doing anything, like joining in, I'm stopping and sleeping on the couch. He feels like it's probably an empty threat because he doesn't think he can bear another night away from the man next to him at the moment. But he tries to make it convincing anyway. When his eyes can focus again, he looks over at Nick, who's staring up at the ceiling with his eyes squeezed shut. Nick's hand is unmoving, and he's breathing heavily. And Carlos wonders if all this had been a mistake. Baby? It's still hard to speak, but he's concerned about his husband. Nick's eyes open and look at him. Nick smiles, but it's not as full as he'd like it to be. I'm okay. Carlos notices he's breathing heavily. I just need to catch my breath. Carlos doesn't move. Was I incorrect? Was this actually not an okay thing? Impossible. I can't be incorrect. Carlos doesn't move, watching Nick's eyes and chest until Nick's breath slowly evens out. Are you okay? He asks finally, once he's satisfied that Nick is breathing normally again. Nick nods, finally withdrawing his hand and holding it between the air, as if not quite sure what to do about it. Yeah, sorry, I didn't think seeing you do that would affect me so much. Carlos doesn't know why he would have thought that, and kicks himself for thinking it would be okay in the first place. Nick has always made him breathless with desire, and he knows that he does the same to Nick. I thought it might be safer if I slept on the couch tonight. I think it might be safer if I slept on the couch tonight, Carlos says, even though he isn't sure he means it. You need to be recovering. I'm sorry, please stay with me tonight. It's been too many nights alone. Ugh. Nick's voice cracks, and if Carlos had actually been considering leaving, that would have kicked that thought away for good. Carlos nods, wiping. Ooh. Hello. Okay. Carlos nods, wiping Nick's spit slick hand on his t-shirt, thinking thinking this particular one was a lost cause and due for the hamper anyway. Fine. He tries to not betray any of the needs he's feeling himself. But I think we really do need to put a pause on bedroom activities for a while. You have some more tests coming up, and I don't want the doctor reprimanding me. Whatever. This doctor would never reprimand you, Nick says, leaning over and kissing him gently. Unless you wanted him to. Carlos shakes his head, gently pushing Nick away and standing and pulling off his t-shirt. Nick's eyes scan hungrily over his naked body. Seriously, Nick, you need to take it easy. I will say, Nick is quite voracious. I understand there's more things going on, but Nick sighs and stares up at the ceiling before nodding. I know, you're right. It's just hard. I bet it is. Carlos nods, tossing the shirt into the hamper and walking toward the bathroom to clean himself off. He sets sex as a goal for himself, for them to work towards until they've gotten the green light from a doctor who's a little less invested in the whole situation. He washes up quickly, the routine coming back to him despite not having been used for quite some time, grabbing a clean shirt and pulling his underwear and pants back on before slipping back into bed next to Nick. His husband looks at him, smiling, and maneuvers so their hands are joined again. Thank you for staying. I agreed to spend the rest of my days, hours, minutes, and seconds by your side, baby. You're stuck with me. He knows it's not what Nick is saying, but he's feeling comfortable enough again to tease. It was the one part of their vows they'd coordinated with each other, wanting to make sure they ended on similar notes, and the one part Nick hadn't blatantly ripped off from his long-form engagement speech, smirking at Carlos as he spoke, even as his voice wavered with emotion. And Carlos had cringed, but loved every minute of it. Thank you for being mine, then. Carlos leans over, kissing him softly. Baby, like there's anything I could ever want more. I did like that. I will say, I think these content warnings feel a little bit more severe than they are. All right. Okay. There wasn't a new, but it looked like, I don't know. To me, it looked like there might have been one. Yeah, they're there for the full uncensored game. I forgot to remove them for the censored version. It's on my to-do list. I'm going to keep my comment to myself, but I will put a pin in that for later. How long is life? Holy McMolly. Adam takes a leave from the hospital during the pandemic's third wave. This might be where we call it. Lifeline is a big one for many reasons. That's concerning, but okay. Then I think this is where we're going to call it for tonight, because we've gone through 2, technically 3 or 4. We're at 3 hours. Dorian, I think, just got off work. Go raid Syl. I will happily go raid Syl. I can do that. Let's still put a pin in that comment. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go over to the ending screen. Um, I really hope that YouTube has. Oh wow, maybe I should have done the just chatting screen real quick while I'm still figuring out some of this. I really hope that YouTube worked tonight, because I know that I've seen people like coming in and out, but it unclear if the actual screen maintained. So that'll be something for me to look at later. But I am going to go ahead and end the stream over on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube watching this either live or in a VOD, thank you for joining in. And feel free to go ahead and hit the like button because I know that you liked it, especially if you made it this far. Feel free to subscribe to me. You can always change your mind later, but you won't want to because I'm a good time. And I will see you guys next time. Bye. And badoop. All right, so that should have ended that.